Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. Dragon Ball. My cat will eventually become a god of destruction. Chapter 1. The first year of the divine calendar. The vast universe, the sea of stars. An unknown planet. On the planet, the birds are singing, the green is full, the air is full of freshness, and the scene of a primeval forest. Yuan Dong slowly opened his eyes and stretched out comfortably. How long did I sleep? Yuan Dong glanced at his right hand. Ah! Suddenly, where Yuan Dong's right palm was, a circle of things like annual rings appeared. Ah, actually slept for so long, 100 million years. Yuan Dong wiped his sweat and exclaimed. This sleep was really long enough. It's okay, it's okay. Yuan Dong looked around and observed the environment here. The last time I slept, it was still a mountain. After waking up this time, it actually became a horse Pingchuan. It's been 100 million years. What happened to the continent? Yuan Dong's figure flew into the blue sky with a movement, patrolling and exploring on this continent. Yuan Dong soon found out. The continent seems to be getting smaller. The continent before I went to bed was boundless. How did it become a sphere now? Yuan Dong soon circled the continent. No, to be precise, it circled the planet. On the planet, humans no longer exist. There are only a few rare critters. Yuan Dong is actually not strange. That's 100 million years. The continent turns into a ball, humanity disappears, etc. It couldn't be more normal. No one can withstand the washing of time. Meow. At this moment, Yuan Dongdi heard the barking of a small cat from a bush not far away. Phew. The next moment, I saw a gray-purple kitten rushing out of the bushes and running towards the distance like running for its life. Woo. Immediately afterwards, a vicious dog grinned and chased after him. The little cat panicked, and after seeing Yuan Dong, he was suddenly startled, and hurriedly made a gorgeous sharp turn and fled in a different direction. The vicious dog was a little bulky, swayed, lost its balance, fell to the ground, and decomposed, a standard dog-eating action. The evil dog quickly got up and fanged at Yuan Dong, as if he suspected that Yuan Dong was getting in the way here before letting it fall. Yuan Dong is happy, is the first thing after waking up is to hit the dog. Bang! Yuan Dong raised his foot and kicked on the body of the vicious dog. Fa! The vicious dog let out a scream, cut an arc in the air, flew into the blue sky, turned into a small black dot, and disappeared. After the little cat saw Yuan Dong so powerful, there were many small stars flashing in the cat's eyes at that time. The little cat walked cautiously towards Yuan Dong with cat steps, for fear that he would give him a kick. I'm afraid that kick is not very comfortable. How did you grow so skinny? Haven't eaten for a long time. Yuan Dong looked at the little cat and thought he was quite funny, so he said with a smile. Meow. The little meow meowed, seemed to be very spiritual, and actually understood. I happen to be hungry too, so come and eat with me later. Yuan Dong greeted the kitten. After saying this, Yuan Dong walked towards the distance. Seeing this little cat, Yuan Dong suddenly wanted to eat fish. There happened to be a lake nearby, and when Yuan Dong explored this side before, he found that there were many big fish in the lake. They are all pure wild big fish. After all, there are no more humans on this planet. It's normal for fish to grow this big. The little cat followed behind Yuan Dong, keeping a distance of about 4 or 5 meters, and did not dare to get too close, and his vigilance was still very strong. Yuan Dong soon came to the lake. The kitten seems to need to remember the way in the process of traveling, almost turning back in 3 or 5 steps. When Yuan Dong stopped, the little cat accidentally hit the foot of Far East. Yuan Dong grabbed him by the neck and lifted him up. The kitten struggled desperately, but could not break free. Okay, don't struggle, it's easy for me to shoot you to death. Yuan Dong said with a smile. The little kitten's mind suddenly made up the scene when Yuan Dong kicked the vicious dog into the sky just now. The kitten didn't dare to struggle anymore. It seems that this person does not seem to have much malice. Why are you so ugly? There is not even a little hair on the body. Yuan Dong sighed. No wonder that evil dog chased you. Quote. Meow. The little cat showed a grievance expression at that time. Am I ugly? That evil dog chased me. Is it because I'm ugly? You're so skinny, just call you a pole, right? Yuan Dong stroked the kitten's head. Kitten. The kitten seemed to know that the name was not very good, and he looked unhappy. Okay, that's it. Yuan Dong Dao. The kitten was speechless and didn't even meow. What is pleasantly said, do I agree? Look at the pole, there are big fish in this lake, do you want to eat it? Yuan Dong asked. The pole nodded vigorously. Immediately afterwards, the kitten shook his head vigorously. I'm not a pole. Well, I want to eat it, throw you over as bait, don't you object? Yuan Dong asked again. Meow. The pole showed a confused look. How many meanings? Phew. Yuan Dong casually threw the pole in his hand towards the center of the lake. The pole was so frightened that the sweaty hairs on his body stood up, and his limbs were kicked around. The cat was originally afraid of water, but now when he saw himself in the middle of the lake, he was even more frightened and shouted. Boom! What made the pole even more frightened was still behind, and I saw a big fish rushing out of the lake, opening its blood basin and mouth, getting closer and closer to him. The pole can smell the fishy smell in the mouth of the big fish. At this moment, the pole was even wondering, should I run into its stomach and eat it from the inside? However, thinking about it, the pole was genuinely frightened. Just when the pole thought that he would definitely become a delicacy for this big fish. Snap! Yuan Dong's big hand grabbed the void forward. The body of the pole quickly appeared in Yuan Dong's hand. The big fish pounced. Ah! Yuan Dong's figure moved, and he had already flown into the sky and appeared above the big fish. Bang! Yuan Dong kicked over. The big fish cut an arc in the air, fell to the ground, and plopped down twice before it completely stopped. Pole, can you fly? It seems that without me as bait, you can lure this big fish out directly, right? Click. Yuan Dongfei landed on the ground and broke a big tree. Pole. The pole is completely out of temper. How barbaric. You're so good, I'd better be honest. Yuan Dong slapped his palm and cut the tree into a pointed shape. The next moment, Yuan Dong inserted the big tree from the big fish's ass and passed it out of the mouth. The pole turned white with fright. What a barbarian. Even at this moment, the pole felt that his chrysanthemum was tight, and he felt a little empathy. However, although the pole was afraid, he never meant to leave. The pole seemed to think that following the guy in front of him might be able to have a full meal. Yuan Dong found a branch for the big fish and set it up. Snap! The flame in Yuan Dong's hand condensed, and a flame hit the firewood below. The pole was frightened and frightened. Is that magic? Soon, after the big fish was grilled by the fire, the aroma of grilled fish wafted out. The rod sniffed hard, as if he had never smelled such a fragrant fish fragrance, and his saliva flowed at that time. It's not yet hot, you wait. Yuan Dong said with a smile. The pole nodded vigorously. You little one is also to blame the poor. Do you have siblings? Yuan Dong asked. The pole hasn't answered yet. The next moment, Yuan Dong saw a fat cat coming quickly from a distance. This fat cat is simply an enlarged version of the pole. It looks almost like a pole, but the body is extremely fat. And depending on the type, it is all a variety. No wonder you're so skinny, it turns out that all the food is for your brother to eat. Yuan Dong was happy. The fat cat did smell the fish and ran faster towards this side. Running and running, the fat cat saw Yuan Dong and the pole. The fat cat was stunned, and immediately braked sharply from afar. Meow. The fat cat looked at the pole. Meow meow. The pole nodded. Meow, meow. The fat cat continued. Meow meow, meow. The pole replied. The two cats exchanged briefly. It is basically certain that the person in front of him has no malice. You can still eat with him. Pole, since it is your brother who is here, let him eat some too. You said that you two are so stupid, it is a miracle that you did not starve to death. Yuan Dong sighed. Meow. After hearing Yuan Dong's address to his younger brother, the fat cat laughed and turned back and forth. The pole pointed at the fat cat tooth, and seemed to be very dissatisfied with his performance. Meow meow. The fat cat kept patting the cat's paws, thinking that the name this person gave his brother was simply too good. You're so fat, let's call you a Dunzy. Yuan Dong muttered. Fat cat. The fat cat shook his head vigorously. I'm not a Dunzy. Don't give people nicknames. Meow. Pole Zyle's mouth was grinning to the root of his ear. Blocks. Meow meow. Blocks. The pole pointed at the mound with a cat's claw and smiled happily. Dunzy looked unhappy. However, the two kittens were quickly attracted by the scent of the big fish. As for what nickname, they don't care anymore. The two cats really haven't eaten anything good in a long time. There is not a lot of food in this neighborhood. Moreover, the piers and poles are relatively small, and there are too few prey that can be caught. Now there is such a big fish to eat, can be fed, and the two cats are happy. The big fish was grilled, and Yuandong ate a large piece of fish meat, and threw the rest to the pier and pole. The two kittens couldn't stop wagging their tails. "You're cats. Why do you still wag your tail when you eat?" Yuandong smiled and said, "Did you learn from that evil dog?" Quote, "Meow. Two cats only care about eating, where can they take care of these?" The big fish finished eating, and the two kittens were satisfied. "I haven't eaten so full in a long time." At the same time, the attitude of the two kittens towards Yuandong also came to a 360-degree change. Even Dunzi stepped forward directly and rubbed under Yuandong's feet with his own head. Seeing this, the pole also ran to Yuandong's other foot and rubbed his body hard. With such two cats in company, Yuandong did not feel lonely. In this way, Yuandong accompanied the two cats, and 3 months passed unknowingly. Idle is also idle. Yuandong taught these two kittens to hunt, and even taught them a technique. This exercise was seen in an ancient book before Yuandong fell asleep. This exercise book is called Extreme Intention Gong. Yuandong felt a little low level. Because, as soon as Yuandong learns. Moreover, Yuandong has basically learned it completely after reading it. Such a simple exercise must be a relatively low-level existence. Where is it comparable to the invincible that I cultivated? From the name of the exercise, you can see who is more advanced. During the time that Yuandong was getting along with the two kittens, he felt that extremely easy gong was quite suitable for their cultivation. Not bad. After these days' efforts, you have cultivated a part of your energy. Yuandong said to the two kittens, "Today, I will teach you to learn the destruction in the extreme intention gong." Quote, the piers and poles stood up immediately. Both kittens are very spiritual, and also know that Yuandong is doing this for their own good. If you can have the ability to hunt, you will definitely be able to live a very nourishing life on this planet. Mounds, poles, you remember, anything can be destroyed, even the earth where you are. Yuandong taught the two kittens. In fact, the process of destruction is simply erased from 1 to 0. Only by abandoning all superfluous thoughts and devoting oneself to destruction itself can one reach a certain level, and there is no upper limit to destruction. Quote, the fat cat Dunzi looked confused. The pole seemed to be a point, and nodded thoughtfully. Snap. The pole suddenly aimed at a small rock next to it and slapped it with a paw. Suddenly, the small stone was smashed by a claw of the pole. Dunzi widened his eyes on the side, revealing a look of disbelief. This is not a sabotage, you have shattered this stone through your own energy. Yuandong said with a smile. Meow. The pole scratched his head with his paws and slowly closed his eyes, thinking about the true meaning of Yuandong's words. The next moment, the pole opened his eyes and slapped a paw at a large tree next to him. Snap. Suddenly, part of the trunk of this large tree turned into slag at that time. The tree fell, crushing the startled pier underneath. Phew. The pier came out of the tree, scratching the tree. The big tree was shaken by the energy of the pier. Okay, you still have to work harder. Yuandong smiled and said, you can't let your brother protect you for the rest of your life, right? Quote. Mound grinned. You are the elder brother, you will protect your younger brother when the time is right. Yuandong smiled, although in the cat family, it seems that no one protects anyone between the brothers, so to speak. The pier and pole looked at each other, a little puzzled. The words of this man. There are always things we don't understand. However, he is really a good person, and he has food and drink with him. The reason why I taught you these things is to hope that you can go further in the future and live here without being bullied. Yuandong sighed. Now that the pole has learned the most entry-level destruction, and you also have energy in your body, I think it shouldn't be a big problem to walk sideways on this ball. Quote. The poles and piers showed a confused look. On this ball. How many meanings do you mean? But there was one sentence they understood. That is, it seems that it is possible to walk sideways here. Apart from him, he is our strongest. Everything that can teach you has been taught, and then I'm going to sleep. I don't know how long it will take to wake up from this sleep. Yuan Dong stepped forward and patted the head of the pier and pole. The pier and pole allowed Yuan Dong to stroke his head and let out a meow. After I fall asleep, you don't have to worry about me, do whatever you want. Yuan Dong ordered to the two kittens. The two kittens nodded in understanding. We always had a lot of things that the host said, and we didn't understand. But the two kittens are used to it. If you don't understand, you're right. But there was one sentence they understood. That is, the host seemed to be going to sleep. Sleep and sleep. Do you still have to say it so solemnly? Talk like you can't wake up. Neither pier nor pole are taken seriously. I wish I would see you again when I woke up. Although this possibility is very small. Yuan Dong smiled. After saying this, Yuan Dong's figure moved, and he flew directly to a towering tree beside him. Yuan Dong lay directly on the branch of the big tree and began to fall asleep. This is the invincible taught to him by Yuan Dong's master. According to Yuan Dong's master, this technique is extremely powerful. Invincibility. It's awesome to hear the name. As long as you comprehend this technique to the extreme, no one in this world will be your opponent. Even God is not enough for you to fight. Because of the first realm of this exercise, almost all opponents can be eliminated. The first realm is falling asleep. And in the process of sleeping, it is an invincible existence. That is, after you fall asleep, no matter what happens, your body will not be injured. It is said that some people also wield the body of Master Yuandong as a weapon, which is simply indestructible. Yuandong's master used this method to sleep and kill all his enemies. Because after Yuandong's master woke up, all his enemies were gone. All old and dead. Only Yuandong's master is still alive. That is, when Yuandong's master woke up that time, he saw Yuandong, who was sleeping when he was a child, and got along with him for a while, teaching him invincible. At that time, Yuandong remembered that this continent was extremely vast and boundless. Yuandong's master took Yuandong to fly on this continent for many hours without seeing an end. Now this ball, Yuandong's slow flight can make a circle in just a minute. Yuandong did not fly too high. There is no need for that. You can understand this ball first. Anyway, I still have to sleep after a while. Yuandong has no enemies, but it doesn't prevent him from sleeping. Because Yuandong's biggest hobby is sleeping. Nothing made him nostalgic than sleeping. As a result, Yuandong slept for 10 million years. Yuandong's master said that Yuandong was too good. Your master and I have slept for 10,000 years and 10,000 years. The longest sleep is 100,000 years. You poor well, sleep directly for 10 million years. When Yuandong woke up for the first time, he could no longer find his master. But this is a normal phenomenon. Although this, invincible, is powerful, it has a fatal flaw. That is to fall asleep. If you oversleep, you may die. Yuandong's master said that the master overslept and let the meteorite smash to death. The so-called oversleeping means, I set my alarm, but you didn't wake up. Then your body will fall into a weak state. Invincibility also disappears completely. If you happen to encounter some meteorite, monster, or danger during this period, you may really die. In fact, it is an alarm clock, which is a biological clock. Sleep as long as you set out. If you don't wake up at the set time, you will fall into a period of weakness. Yuandong's master said a wise saying. That is, our pulse is to sleep, and when you wake up, master may disappear. It is possible that master has overslept and burped, or he may continue to sleep. So none of this is a problem. Since Yuandong's master said that these were not a problem, then Yuandong did not look for his master. Yuandong continued to sleep. And then I slept for 100 million years. This time, after Yuandong woke up, he was actually a little worried. Because Yuandong overslept, it was originally set for 50 million years. Fortunately, Yuandong's luck is better. Yuandong remembered that he seemed to wake up in a day's halfway, and then fixed another 50 million years. So that period of weakness just passed in a flash. And so 100 million years passed. Invincible has a total of 2 realms. The first realm is falling asleep. The second realm is invincibility. Sleep to a certain extent, and you will be invincible. You will have the invincible ability to sleep with. And it will also achieve true immortality. In fact, Yuandong cannot be regarded as immortality in the true sense of the word. although Yuandong has lived for hundreds of millions of years. But in fact, Yuandong's age is less than 18 years old. The amount of time spent sleeping is not age-oriented. Because when sleeping, Yuandong is in an invincible state, does not age, and has no memories when sleeping. Similar to hibernation. This is the power of this exercise. Sleep all your opponents to death. Do you have me to survive? I take a nap casually, hundreds of years, thousands of years. Can you compare? This time, Yuandong set himself a time of 4 million years. Don't dare to sleep for so long anymore. It is also good to sleep less at a time, wake up in the middle to eat something, and appreciate the world of flowers and plants. I don't know if this ball can give birth to humans in 4 million years. Yuandong soon fell asleep. Below, the Pier and Pole looked up at the sky and looked at each other again. What about the host? Ran to sleep. Immediately afterwards, the two kittens also climbed quickly towards the tree. It took 10 minutes to climb. The two kittens then found Yuandong, who had fallen asleep. Dunzi, Pole, Master, don't sleep. You sleep in this place. Very unsafe. Although the beast below this place will not do anything to you. But there are also flying monsters in the sky. What if they eat you? The Pier and Pole vigilantly guarded Yuandong's side, for fear that Yuandong would be eaten. Sure enough, what are you really worried about? About 10 days later. A fiery red giant pung descended from the sky and swooped down in the direction where Yuandong was. The poles and piers stood on end in shock. The body of this big pung is extremely large, and the nails of its claws are comparable to the size of the body of a pole. Da Peng's sharp claws came straight to Yuandong, wanting to take Yuandong away. The pole gritted his teeth and bravely rose into the sky. Bang! A cat's paw slapped on Da Peng's paw. Destruction. Snap. Suddenly, after the paws of the greenhouse were slapped by the pole, it shattered like soap bubbles. Da Peng screamed in pain, and his body immediately lost his balance. After seeing this scene, Dunzi no longer had the slightest hesitation. Phew! The pier also soared into the sky, and a cat's claw slapped on Da Peng's body. Bang! With a muffled sound, Da Peng cut an arc in the air and fell to the ground, kicking up a large cloud of dust. Da Peng couldn't stop struggling on the ground, obviously this fall was not light. Phew! The pole fell from the sky, and the cat's claw was aimed at Da Peng's head. Destruction. In the blink of an eye, Da Peng's head turned into slag and shattered like soap bubbles. The pier was speeding up, for fear that Da Peng would not die thoroughly enough, and hit it with a set of cat punches. Da Peng has long been dead and can't die anymore. The two kittens breathed a slight sigh of relief. After a short break, the Pier and Pole looked at Da Peng's body silently and licked his lips. This thing seems to be delicious. The Pole hurriedly pulled off Da Peng's wings, tore off a piece of meat, and ate a bite. Bah! The rod hurriedly spat out the meat. Meow! Pole rode. Meow, meow meow, moaned thoughtfully. The two cats quickly communicated in cat language. The following dialogue between the Pier and the Pole is cat language. Stupid. The hosts are all roasted by fire. If you are used to eating cooked meat, it will not taste good if you eat raw meat. Dunzi said. Really? I'll just say what are the shortcomings, the Pole nodded. Go find the fire. Dunzi proposed. Where to find fire? The Pole asked rhetorically. Mound scratched his head. Yes, we will not release the flame like the master. No, wait until the master wakes up before eating. Anyway, if you don't eat for a day or two, you won't die of hunger. The Pole thought for a moment and replied. Dunzi nodded thoughtfully. The two cats climbed the tree again and guarded Yuandong's side. A day passed. 2 days passed. Seeing that Da Peng's body was about to change its taste. It's just, why isn't the owner awake yet? How long does the master have to sleep? Dunzi asked. The Pole shook his head. Who knows? No, leave some for the master, let's eat the rest. Pole proposed. Dunzi did not object. Only, what if there is no fire? By the way, the energy that the master taught us about cultivation. Can it turn into flames? Mound had a whim. You can try. The Pole tries to condense the energy into the paw. The Pier also did so immediately. In order to be able to eat the roasted Da Peng, the two cats also accelerated the speed of cultivation. After 109 attempts. Snap. Finally, around the 6th day, the Pole successfully condensed the flames. Then, with tears in their eyes, the two cats roasted the shed that had become a little flavorful. Fortunately, after the barbecue of the flame, the taste is finally a little passable. I just always feel like something is missing. Compared with the barbecue made by the owner, it is not a little worse. The two cats kindly left a piece of roasted dapang meat for Yuandong and buried it in the ground. The two cats now only hope that the owner can wake up as soon as possible. The next period of time. The two cats took turns guarding Yuandong's side. The other one goes out hunting. I have to say that after learning a little bit of extreme skill, the two cats are simply comfortable in hunting. Especially the pole, the comprehension of extremely easy work is more thorough, and it is stronger than the peer in terms of overall strength. But Rao is so, even if it is a dunzi, it can already walk sideways on this planet. Such a large pung bird was killed by the two cat paws of the pole and the peer, similar to dinosaurs or something, and it was not their opponent. Time passed day by day. The peers and poles were also completely speechless. Why is the owner still not awake? How long are you going to sleep? If the two cats hadn't found out that Yuandong still had a heartbeat, they would even have thought that he was dead. Time ticks and goes. 1 day, 2 days, 1 month, half, 1 year. The two cats have always been inseparable from Yuandong. Always one is on duty by Yuandong's side, and the other goes out to hunt, and the division of labor is also clear. Although after that, there were almost no birds and beasts to harass Yuandong. But the two cats, afraid of what happened, remained by his side. As if this towering tree was already their home. In addition, the two cats' cultivation of extreme intention gong has also improved a little. On this day, as usual, the peer went out to hunt, and the pole was left to guard Yuandong. Not long after, the pole suddenly heard a cat barking in the forest not far away. Very miserable scream. This is the cry of the mound. The pole's eyes widened at that time, revealing a look of disbelief. Didn't the master say, as long as we master the extreme skill, can we walk sideways on this ball? Why is the peer still called so tragically? It seems to be in danger. Snap. The pole immediately covered Yuandong's body with a layer of leaves, for fear that he would be exposed to the sight of the birds. Immediately afterwards, the pole turned into a stream of light and sped towards the direction where the peer was. Soon, the pole found that there was one more person in the middle of the jungle. This person has light blue skin, is dressed in blue-green clothes, has silver-white hair combed back, purple pupils and lips. In addition, there is a light blue halo hanging from the back of the person's head, and a large red belt on the waist, and the color of the clothes are particularly incongruous. Red with green, dogs are greasy. The cat also has a little spicy eyes when it looks at it. In the center of this belt is inlaid with a big character. Anyway, the pole does not understand what this word means. But the pole knows at a glance that this person and the owner are not a breed. The owner's skin is yellow. The pole thinks with a cat's paw, feels. This product must be a villain. Maybe it's still the owner's enemy. What made the pole a little embarrassed and angry was that I saw this person grabbing the neck of the peer like this and lifting the peer up. Meow meow. The peer let out a scream. Meow. The pole was furious. Dare to bully my brother. My brother, only me and the master can bully. Is it your turn to bully? Look, I don't beat you out of. The pole rushed towards the blue skin. Destruction. There is nothing good nonsense about the pole, and sabotage is used as soon as it comes up. Powerful destructive energy, quickly condensed on the cat's claws of the pole. The blue skin was slightly stunned, and a hint of surprise appeared in his eyes. What is this? Snap. The blue skin raised his hand and abruptly caught the cat's claw swung by the pole. The powerful impact made the blue-skinned arm tremble slightly. The pole was also stunned. This goods hit me with a move to destroy, actually okay. Blue skin was a little surprised, and raised his hand to look at the palm that was hit by the pole. In the palm of his hand, a red dot the size of a sesame seed has emerged. But the red dot soon disappeared. A cat actually has such a powerful destructive ability. How did you do it? The blue skin looked at the pole with interest. Meow. The pole shouted at the top of his voice, unable to hold back his teeth. That couldn't be clearer. Let go of my brother. You see, you are brothers. Blue skin smiled slightly. However, this is not my initiative. It was your brother who attacked me first, and he seems to have taken me as prey. Quote. After speaking, Blue Skin let go of his hand. Snap. The pier landed steadily and quickly rushed to the side of the pole. Are you all right? The pole asked with concern. Okay. Why is this guy so powerful? What to do? None of your sabotage seems to have hurt him. Quote. It may be the enemy, and he must not be allowed to know the location of the master. The pole said in a deep voice. Let's get out of here first and observe him secretly. Dunsey nodded in agreement. Good. The pole answered. Hey, you two little guys, do you want to follow me back to the god realm? The Blue Skin smiled and said, Don't worry, I have no malice, I know that you are also very spiritual. Quote. Phew. Shout. Quote. The two kittens turned into two flames of light at that time, disappeared into the depths of the jungle in an instant, and disappeared without a trace. Blue Skin. They actually treated me like an evil person. Bring such a spiritual little guy home, daughters and sons should like it. Snap. A scepter suddenly appeared in Blue Skin's hand. At the top of the scepter is a black crystal ball. The Blue Skin looks into the crystal ball. Through this crystal ball, the Blue Skin can easily find the whereabouts of the pier and pole. Ah! The Blue Skin figure moved, and the body disappeared in place. In just an instant, Blue Skin appeared directly in front of the pier and pole. The pier and the pole are discussing in cat language, what are they going to do next? Then, the two cats saw the Blue Skin that appeared in front of them. The pier was terrified at that time. The pole is slightly calmer, but his face has changed again and again, and the cat's face has become even more gloomy. How did he appear? Who the hell is this guy? Is it really the enemy of the master? Meow. The rod fangs, the hand destroys the energy condensation. Wait a minute, I really have no malice, little one, don't engage in this kind of thing anymore. Blue Skin smiled. And after saying this, the blue-skinned big hand waved gently. A scene that shocked the pole happened. I saw that the destructive energy that I had finally condensed was actually gone all of a sudden. It's extinguished. Meow meow. The pole was stunned. What is this situation? What is the origin of this person? Now you know that no matter how hard you try, you can't be my opponent, right? A blue-skinned smile emerged. You are all spiritual little animals. I still say that. Follow me back to the god world. I will let my children take good care of you. Maybe one day you can become a real god. Quote. The two cats looked confused. What does it mean? What god realm? Could it be that this man is God? Okay, first introduce yourself. I'm the great priest. Blue Skin smiled and said, I am the great steward of all the gods in this universe, and you can meet me, which can be regarded as related to me. Quote. The pole was confused again. Dunsey was equally surprised. The great butler of all the gods in this universe. The identity of this product is really powerful. Is it really God? Poles and peers don't believe much. However, the ability of this product is too strong. We're no match for him at all. How is this good? I ask you again, do you want to return to the god realm with me? There is a certain possibility that you will become the true gods of this universe. The Grand Priest smiled and said, I won't force you, give you 5 minutes to think about it yourself. Quote. After speaking, the figure of the Great Priest shook and disappeared in place. The two cats of the pier and the pole looked at each other. Dunsey, are you going? The pole asked. If we go, what about the owner? Dunsey asked. So, don't go. The pole nodded. He's not going to eat us, is he? Dunsey was a little worried. The destruction that the master taught me is several levels in total, and after this year, I have now stepped from the beginner to the beginner level, only a line away from the intermediate level. As long as I master the intermediate level of destruction, I think I should be able to beat him to a serious injury. The pole muttered. How long do you have before you can be promoted to intermediate destruction? Dunsey asked with some expectation. I feel like I have to practice for at least 1 day. The pole replied. But he only gave us 5 minutes. Mound shook his head. So go with him first, and after I comprehend the intermediate destruction, I will defeat him, and we will come back. Pole proposed. That's a good idea. Mound nodded. You also have to grasp the destruction as soon as possible. It's been a year, why don't you pay attention at all? The pole glared. Hee hee. Dunsey smiled sheepishly. The master has said, don't expect me for everything, you are my brother, always let your brother protect it. The pole said angrily. Oh come on. Dunsey nodded solemnly and asked, "What will the master do on the day we leave with him?" Quote, "I covered my master's body with branches and leaves, and now I can only pray that he will not be found." Pole wrote, "Then let's pray together now." Mound nodded, 2 cat paws on his chest. Pole. The 5 minutes passed quickly. The great priest's figure shook and appeared in front of the pole and peer again. "How's you thinking about it?" The great priest smiled. The peer and the pole nodded together. "By the way, do we still have friends and relatives on this planet? Do you want to bring it back to the god realm together?" The grand priest asked. Meow. Mound turned to look at the pole. Meow. The pole shook his head. The 2 cats started speaking cat language again. "Is it really the master's enemy? You see, he asked us if we still have friends and relatives on this planet." Dunsey snorted. His meaning could not be more obvious. Maybe he just wanted to find our master. Quote, "Absolutely can't tell him." The pole replied. "Well, even if I die, I won't betray our master." The peer answered the road categorically. "HMPH, me too." The pole laughed. "I heard that some humans have a lot of bad eyes," said Dunsey. "I heard the old turtle on the beach say that a long time ago, many people ate cat meat. And use all kinds of deception. And people are also at war with each other. In the end, it seems that biological and chemical weapons have been developed, which only work for humans, so human beings are extinct." Quote, "I've heard these things too." The pole nods. "What, did you know that too?" Dunsey was stunned. "That old turtle told me. It said that this kind of confidential thing only told me about one cat." Quote, "Che, do you believe it?" The pole laughed. Dunsey. There was a brief silence. "Anyway, I mean, let's be careful. This self-proclaimed god doesn't seem to be a good person, with a cunning face." The peer instructed. "I'll naturally be careful." The pole indicates understanding. The big priest watched the 2 cats communicate in cat language there, and for a while he was a little speechless. "What language is this? How do I not understand? Also, I don't know why, there was a strange layer of energy fluctuations on their bodies, which made me unable to read their inner world. These 2 cats are really interesting. The universe has just been born, and there will actually be such small animals. Come to me." The grand priest greeted the 2 cats. The poles and peers walked warily towards the great priest's side. "Now, just grab my calf, and I'll take you to the divine realm." The great priest smiled. The 2 cats, although not very happy, still did it. "Ah!" The great priest cast an instantaneous movement, but in a flash, he disappeared with the peer and pole. In just an instant, the great priest appeared in the sky above the divine realm with 2 cats. The peer and pole looked around in surprise, and their faces changed again and again. "What a magical power! Just in an instant, how did you run to such a place? Where is this?" The 2 cats widened their cat's eyes and were shocked. Because the 2 cats found that there was a huge jellyfish underneath them. "How big are jellyfish?" The pole feels this jellyfish. It seems to be the size of the ball in which he and his master live. This guy called the great priest called that ball a planet. How could there be such a large jellyfish? Jellyfish seem to wander freely in the sea of stars. And on the back of the jellyfish, there is a huge house. No, it should be a huge palace to be exact. Above the palace, there is also a pole and peer that does not recognize the word. The word, above is a man, below is a king. These 2 words are recognized. This is also the text he learned from the old turtle. People, king. The pole suddenly spat out these 2 words. The great priest had a little accident. This cat actually spoke out of words. "It's not easy. I really didn't read it wrong. That word is full, you read it separately. The human king. It's a little interesting, maybe it would be more accurate to call him a god king." The great priest smiled and said, "I didn't expect you to know the words of the divine realm. Who taught you?" Quote, the pole was startled, hurriedly covered his mouth with a cat's paw, and shook his head vigorously. "If you don't want to say it, don't say it, it doesn't matter." The great priest didn't mean to break the casserole at all and asked to the end. The next moment, the great priest slowly fell from the air with the peer and pole. When the pole and peer stood in front of the word, all, they suddenly felt their own insignificance. At this moment, the pole and the peer even felt that their 2 cats were like 2 little ants. The word, what does it mean? And below this word, there is a tall and magnificent door. This gate is less than 100 meters high. The pole and pier are like two small dots in front of this door. The gate was shining with gold, and I didn't know what material it was made of. Originally, the pier and the pole thought that the great priest was going to take the two of them to open the door and enter. However, what left the two cats speechless was that the great priest waved his hand lightly, and a small door appeared on the wall next to the gate. The small door opens out of thin air. The grand priest entered through the small gate with two cats. As for who lived inside that gate, the high priest did not say. Because there is no need for that. After entering the small door, the piers and poles saw a huge courtyard. The courtyard is covered with a variety of plants. There are a lot of plants, and these two cats have not seen them. The grand priest led the two cats straight through the courtyard, turned around, and walked to the innermost room. The great priest stepped forward and knocked lightly on the door. The door opened. A girl with a ponytail opened the door. The ponytail girl has silver white hair, blue skin, and looks very beautiful. Father. The ponytailed girl saluted the grand priest. Bardos, are you studying? The great priest smiled. Yes, I think there are a lot of things to learn, and there are not enough to learn at all. The ponytailed girl named Bardos smiled back. As Bardos spoke, he suddenly found the pier and pole following the great priest. Cats. Is this a cat, Father Sama? Bardos was stunned and quickly asked. Well, what I saw when I passed a planet. The great priest smiled and said, both of them are quite spiritual. Quote. Wow, that's cute. Bardos stepped forward and picked up the mound. Be careful, the two of them have already cultivated energy. The great priest said with a smile. It's so spiritual. Bardos looked unconcerned and patted Dunsi's head. Hey, it's fun. Quote. Dunsi suddenly showed an unlovable expression. Dunsi wanted to burst with energy. However, this guy called the great priest is too powerful. He's here, and my brother and I can't make any waves. Like it, the great priest smiled. Father Sama wouldn't want to give me this fat cat, would he? Bardos was stunned and immediately understood. If you like it, I'll give it to you. The grand priest nodded. Like. Bardos nodded. Like this fat one. The grand priest glanced at the mound held by Bardos in his hand again. This chubby look is indeed quite endearing. Bardos looked thoughtfully at the pole and shook his head. It's too thin. It's not fun to look at. I still want this one. Quote. Well, just like it. The great priest smiled. Like, thank you Father for your birthday gift. Bardos thanked you. We angels, we don't have much ritual sense about birthdays, the high priest said with his hands on his back. It's already good, it's my favorite birthday present I've ever received. Bardos grinned, revealing a cute expression. Give him a name, the great priest said with a smile. Little one, do you have a name yourself? Bardos patted Mound's little head. Mound nodded vigorously. My name is Dunsi. Of course I have a name. It's called Shampa, right? Bardos thought about it and gave the mound a new name. Elephant Paw. This is the meaning of champagne in humans, right? The great priest smiled. Yes, my lord father. Bardos nodded lightly and touched Mound's head with his hand. Shampa, please take care of it in the future. Quote. The pier desperately rebelled against growth. I'm not a Shampa, I'm a Dunsi. What kind of rotten name are you calling? Champagne. Am I a champagne? Am I drinking? I'm a Dunsi. This female doll is really unlikable. Is that your name? You see how nice the name our master has made. Blocks. I still like the name. What a direct name. I don't want to be Champagne. Hey, he doesn't seem to be very happy yet, isn't that a bad name? Bardos thought thoughtfully. Slowly he'll get used to it. The great priest smiled. This is also. Bardos nodded. Elephant Paw, come with me and play in the house. Quote. Dunsi once again showed a look of unlovedness. The pole kept glaring at the pier. The meaning of the pole is obvious. Meow. The pole meowed and began to speak cat language again. Meow, meow meow, meow. Mound nodded. What are the two of them talking about? Bardos was stunned and looked up at the great priest. I also didn't comprehend their language. The great priest laughed dryly, and their inner world is blocked by a special energy, and they can't see what they are thinking at all. However, the two little ones may not be used to the unfamiliar environment, and I think it is possible that these two little guys will find a way to escape back to their own planet. Quote. Well, Bardos nodded, it's very far from their planet, isn't it? Quote. Well, with their current ability, I'm afraid they won't be able to go back. The great priest directly said his thoughts in front of the two cats. Dunsey. Pull. Both cats could understand the words of the great priest. After hearing his words, the two cats were stunned at that time and widened their cat's eyes. You don't understand cat language. Can you guess our minds so thoroughly? And, how do you hear him mean that we can't seem to go back to that ball? Is the distance very far? How far is it? Father, do you want to give that skinny cat to Weiss? Bardos asked with a smile. Yes, I have this plan. The great priest nodded, after all, he and you have the same birthday. Quote. Bardos looked carefully at the pole again and glanced at the mound he was holding in his arms. Bardos hesitated a little for a moment. Actually, although this kitten has lost a little weight, it should grow back after eating something, muttered Bardos. Would you like to change it? The great priest showed a doting expression. Forget it, I still want this fat cat. Bardos made up his mind, and when he said this, he poked his finger on the body of the pier again, isn't it, Shampa? Quote. Meow. Mound wanted to cry. Are my brothers and I treated like pet cats by them? I heard the old turtle say that a long time ago, humans did keep cats as pets. It's shameless. I don't want to be a pet cat. Hey. I and the pole called him master. We seem to have assumed that we are pets, right? Dunsey suddenly realized this problem. So tangled. Forget it, don't want to. Didn't the pole say, when he comprehends the intermediate destruction after a day, it is possible that we will leave here. Isn't it just a day? And it gives me the feeling that this fellow, called the great priest, is going to give us to his children. So did he leave? As long as he is gone, it will be easier for me and the pole to move. The guy called the grand priest said that our home is far from here. I don't believe it. How far can it go? Further away, that's our home. We're going home. Well, I'll take a trip to Weiss. The grand priest said to Bardos. Yes, father. Bardos bowed and saluted, thank you again for my birthday gift. Quote. The great priest nodded lightly, beckoned to the pole, and motioned for him to follow him. The pole is also a movement in the heart. Through the communication with the peer just now, the pole felt that his opportunity had come. The high priest is going to give me to his son, right? I hope that after you give me to your son, you will leave quickly. This way I have the opportunity to cultivate. Wait until my destruction level reaches the intermediate level. I'll definitely beat you out of. The pole honestly followed behind the great priest. The great priest looked at it, but there was a faint smile on his face. The pole couldn't stop rolling his eyes. This is too sinister to laugh. It's a villain at first glance. How can the owner be so kind? As for the matter of Yuandong throwing the pole into the middle of the lake as bait, the pole has been selectively forgotten. After all, in the days after that, Yuandong was still very good with poles and piers. And it taught them the art of hunting. It is better to teach people to fish than to teach people to fish. This truth, the pole has also heard the old turtle talk about. It's a pity that the old turtle died quite early. Otherwise, you can learn a lot from it. The grand priest walked through the courtyard with a pole for a moment, and then entered another courtyard gate. In the center of the courtyard there is a house, which belongs to the relatively old architectural style. For the pole, it doesn't matter what architectural style, it's just a house anyway. Oops, it's delicious. A man's voice came from the room, with a bit of excitement in his voice. Ahem. The grand priest coughed outside. The voice in the room also stopped suddenly. The next moment, a blue-skinned man ran out of the room. When the man saw the high priest, he immediately bowed and saluted, and called, Father. Quote. The pole can be figured out with his toes, and this person is probably the Weiss that the great priest said. Weiss, are you studying food again? The great priest said with a smile. Yes, recently, I found a delicacy called ham, and I felt delicious. Weiss smiled and said, would you like to taste it, father? Quote. No. The great priest wiped his sweat. The pole could tell that it seemed that this guy from Vase didn't cook very well. Otherwise, the great priest would not have this expression. Ha, kitten. Weiss was stunned, and immediately noticed the pole beside the great priest. Like it? The grand priest asked, today is your birthday, and I will give it to you if you like it. Quote. Oops, is it already my birthday before you know it? Weiss said with a smile. The great priest nodded slightly and smiled. Since it was a gift from my father, then I was disrespectful. Weiss nodded and beckoned to the pole. Kitten, come here. Quote. The pole obediently walked over. The pole wished he had followed this guy named Weiss earlier. Then you can pray to the high priest to leave quickly. Then I figure out how to break through the existing destruction. Pretty obedient. Weiss smiled. Don't underestimate him. The great priest smiled and said, he has already cultivated energy, and he has a very remarkable attack power, and even the cat's claw he swung has inadvertently caused a little bruise on my palm. Quote. It's so powerful, oh, it's amazing. Weiss was indeed a little surprised. Father, would he actually be injured a little bit? As the most powerful god in this universe, it is a bit too much to let a cat scratch. Although my father may have been a little careless at the time. But this cat can hurt the father, and there is indeed something remarkable about him. So you have to be careful too. The great priest smiled. Good father, I'll pay attention. Weiss nodded and asked again, by the way, does it have a name? Quote. There should be no name. The great priest smiled and said, I gave your sister Bardos a kitten of the same breed, that cat is fatter, I believe you like this one more. Your sister Bardos named the cat Elephant Paw, a wine called champagne in human language. Quote. Oh, so what should I name him? Weiss didn't care that his sister got a fat cat first, but dragged his chin and meditated silently. Beer, what do you think? The grand priest asked. Beer. Weiss was stunned. The pole showed a look of invincibility at that time. Previously, the pole also mocked the mound for being named Elephant Paw. What an ugly name. Is it bad for you to call a Dunzy? Now, I'm actually named Beer. The pole wants to die. Such a ugly name is not as good as my pole. And, listening to the old turtle, beer seems to be a very difficult drink for humans, and it feels like urine. Human beings are really strange, how can they still make urine into wine? The pole does not want to be beer. I'll call it a pole. The pole shook his head vigorously, expressing great dissatisfaction with the name. He wasn't happy, Weiss said with a smile. Then it's called Beerus, right? The great priest smiled slightly. Beerus. Weiss was stunned. In human terms, it means beer. The great priest's voice whispered in Weiss's ear. This is good, it is worthy of being a father. Vase nodded, a smile on his face. The pole looked up at Vase and the grand priest. As for what the great priest whispered to Weiss, the pole cannot be heard. But the pole can guess. This villain certainly doesn't say good things. The name Beerus sounds pretty foreign. It's still a pit. I don't like it at all. That's so pleasant. Vase squatted down, gently stroked the head of the pole, and smiled. From today onwards, I'll call you Beerus, right? How about Beerus? Quote. The pole glanced at Vase expressionlessly. The most important thing now is that I have to find a place to practice properly. Great priest, get out of here. Father, do you want me to sing you a birthday song? Weiss asked suddenly. Snap. The next moment, a microphone already appeared in Weiss's hand. This microphone comes with a speaker, which can directly diffuse the sound. Grand priest. Ahem. Today is your birthday. What birthday song do you sing me? The great priest wipes his sweat. Oh, it's okay, I'll sing myself a birthday song, and ask my father to enjoy it. Weiss continued. I suddenly remembered that Lord Quanwang still has very important things to do when he finds me. After all, this universe has just begun, and there are indeed many things to do. The great priest laughed dryly. If you want to sing a birthday song, you can find your sister Bardos, you two have the same birthday, and you can sing each other. Quote. Weiss. Okay, my lord, then you can get busy with work first. Weiss nodded. Gone. After the great priest finished speaking, he immediately left. The great priest walked quickly. It seems that the great priest is afraid that Wesses will sing him a birthday song in the back. Pull. How many meanings? Birthday song. Isn't it just a song? As for being afraid of being like that, could it be said that this guy called the great priest has a weakness? His weakness wouldn't be that he couldn't hear the singing, would he? All right, I'm a cat. I don't speak much now, let alone sing. But that's not a big deal. When this goods left, I began to look for opportunities to cultivate my destruction. After the grand priest left, Vase took the pole to his room. The pole looked around. This room is not small. The rooms are connected like a maze. Beerus, you go around first, you're welcome, just treat this place as your home. Weiss greeted the pole. Pole teeth. I'm not called Beerus. You call me Beerus again, I'm anxious with you. It seems that the wild nature is not eliminated. Weiss sighed, then you can feel free, I hope you can adapt to the environment here as soon as possible. Quote. After Weiss finished speaking, he stopped paying attention to the pole. Weiss entered the room and continued to study his cuisine. The pole's eyes widened. This goods is not for me. Really fake. Wouldn't be a trap. It doesn't look like The pole carefully walked outside. The next moment, the pole jerked back at Weiss. As a result, Weiss was still there studying food, and did not take the look at this side at all. Meow. The pole had already walked to the door and barked. Weiss still ignored it, still studying the food there. Phew. The pole rushed straight out of the room where Vase was and into another room. Immediately afterwards, the pole jerked back again and looked at Wes's behind him. Vase still ignored it. Pole. The pole suddenly felt as if he was a little too much of a dish. This is special. This guy named Weiss didn't even pay attention to me. But that's fine, I can practice with peace of mind, right? Let's go to the yard first. The pole patrolled every room and finally found the exit. Phew. The pole sneaked into the courtyard. The courtyard is not small, one after the other. The pole suddenly became a little curious. With such a big courtyard, are there only two people, Vase and Bardos? Who lives in the other yards? The curiosity of cats is still very heavy. The pole walked towards the courtyard next door with cat steps. Well, first figure out the environment, and then go to cultivation. If you don't even know the environment, you will practice rashly, and even if you win, you won't know how to get out. The pole marched carefully in the courtyard next door. The yard next door is similar in structure to the yard in Ves, and the situation can be slightly more complicated, with more plants whose poles cannot be named. Just as the pole traveled carefully, the pole felt a danger signal. The next moment, the pole seemed to feel something rushing towards him. The pole soared into the sky at that time, directly to the high wall, and its claws tightly grabbed the wall. The pole was condescending and looked down. I saw that on the grass below, a fox with orange hair appeared. The guy who just attacked him was this fox. Meow. The pole glared angrily at the fox. The fox also raised his head and looked at the pole on the wall with interest. This cat reacted quite quickly. It's so much fun. I don't know where it came out. Hey, I have to admire your reflexes. The fox smiled and said, I can actually predict the danger that will come. Quote. The pole was stunned, and his face changed color slightly. This fox can actually speak human language. I don't speak much yet. The pole did not make a sound. You can't talk, do you? The fox smiled. Meow. Pole teeth. Ha ha ha, that's true. The fox chuckled, are you really low level enough to not even speak, only meow? Quote. Pole. But how long can you hold out if you just scratch the wall? The fox smiled softly. The pole teethed again. You. Most. Good. Other. Provoke. I, said the pole through gritted teeth and in a voice that was not very fluent. Oh, you're just learning to speak, right? No wonder it's not very fluent. Well, let me say you learn a sentence. If you can learn it, I will release you. If you can't learn it, HMPH, then don't blame me for bullying you. Quote. Meow. The pole was stunned. Learn to speak. The pole was originally a little angry. But after hearing the fox's words, he was relieved. I also want to learn to speak. You can also communicate with the host in the future. Not speaking, only speaking cat language is not a long-term solution. You can learn to speak with a little fox. This cat is so smart, can he still learn not to speak? Besides, this cat can already speak, that is, he is not fluent enough. So, you agree? The fox smiled slightly. The pole nodded. You come down first, you can't run anyway, are you tired of picking up on it? The fox said with a smile. Snap. The pole jumped off the wall and landed on the opposite side of the fox, keeping a distance of about 5 meters from him. Now the pole is not clear about the strength of this fox. It has to be said that after the incident of the great priest, the pole is not as confident as before. The main thing is that the owner slept. If the owner is awake, the pole really has nothing to fear. Moreover, this fox can speak, and the pole subconsciously thinks that the strength of the other party should not be simple. After all, there are too few animals that can speak. The old turtle on that ball can talk, and it knows a lot. The pole felt like an idiot in front of that old turtle. So in the face of a talking fox, the pole is still very vigilant. Okay, so first tell me the first sentence. The fox smiled. The pole meowed, and did not object. Black fertilizer. The fox said, simple, right? Don't tell me you can't even say these three. Quote. Black, change, fat. The pole learned the fox look and said it word by word. Not bad, your comprehension ability is very strong. The fox smiled and said, then let's continue. Quote. The pole nods. Ash, Fox Road, F.A. Ash, the pole was stunned. How is this so simple? It doesn't seem to be difficult. Aha, that's it, you learned so well. The fox nodded in satisfaction. Meow, the pole grinned. Then I continued. The fox smiled and said, Ash fertilizer, say it. Quote. Ash, fertilizer, Pole Shui said. You are so powerful, I have to admire you. The fox everyone praised, keep going, blacken. Quote. Blackened, the pole was learned quickly this time. Just 2 words, it's just too easy. Very good, very good. The fox grinned and nodded. I really admire the 5 bodies you admire. I learned to speak so quickly, and there is nothing wrong with learning it in a similar way. Quote. The pole grinned and straightened his chest like a proud little rooster. So, let's connect what we just said. The fox smiled and said, black fertilizer is gray fertilizer is black, say it. Quote. Ash volatilization will. Black gray black. The pole mouth couldn't turn a corner. Pole, ha 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 ha, you idiot, you're laughing at me to death. The fox smiled so brightly that his mouth was split to the root of his ear. It's so much fun. Where did this stupid cat come from? The pole was furious. If the pole doesn't know that he has been teased by the other party until now, then he is really a stupid cat. Idiot, now you know you can't speak, right? The fox laughed maniacally. And after saying this, the fox rushed over with an arrow. Bang! The fox slapped the body of the pole. With a muffled sound, the body of the pole flew backwards and smashed into the wall behind him. Crunch! The next moment, the pole slowly slipped down from the wall. It's too weak, bullying you doesn't have a sense of accomplishment. The fox shook his head in disappointment. Snap! The pole grunted and climbed up, glaring angrily at the fox, and did not stop its teeth. You still dare to bark your teeth at me? It seems that it didn't hurt you just now. The fox snorted coldly and pounced in the direction of the pole again. Broken. Bad. The pole was furious, and destructive energy emerged in his hand. Bang! The paws of the cat and the fox collided. The moment the fox's claws came into contact with the cat's claws of the pole, he felt a huge energy rushing towards him. This energy carries an endless breath of death. The fox was so frightened that he hurriedly withdrew his claws. Bang! The next moment, I saw the cat's claw of the pole suddenly slap on the fox's body. The fox snorted and flew out directly upside down, falling to the ground at once, leaving a small hole in the ground. Poof! The fox spurted blood from his mouth and turned pale. But then, the fox gritted his teeth and stood up. However, the fox seems to be not lightly injured, and it seems that it is unstable on its feet, and may fall at any time. No way. The pole smiled softly, revealing a mouthful of white teeth. Although the pole was laughing, he was actually surprised in his heart. This fox is not simple. I can still stand up if I am damaged. The rock bird was slapped by my sabotage, and its claws were shattered. My destruction now has improved a lot compared to the rock bird period, but I haven't broken this fox. This place is so weird. But that's not a problem. As long as I cultivate destruction to the intermediate level, I will not be afraid of anyone. You little kitty, I really underestimate you. It seems that I don't give you the real thing, you don't know how powerful I am, Ligil. The fox said coldly. It turns out that, your name is Ligier, the pole chuckled, meow. Quote. Snap. Just as the words of the pole fell, the tail behind the fox turned into 9. The pole was stunned. How many meanings? Hurrah! Just when the pole was a little stunned, I saw several flames of light flash from the fox's 9 tails. These flames of light shot at the pole like machine guns. The pole was startled, and hurriedly jumped back and forth through his agile body, and dodged the attack without risk. Bang! The fox sped up, slamming the pole to the ground with one paw. Poof! Blood spurted from the pole's mouth, and it felt like the whole cat was not good. Sabotage! The pole was furious, and with another sabotage, he greeted the fox. The fox learned to be clever this time and hurriedly dodged the attack of destruction. Flames. Flames condense in the cat's paws of the pole. The flame is used for grilling. After being comprehended by the pole last time, it is now very easy to use. Phew! A fireball whizzed straight towards the fox. The fox was taken aback. Will this cargo also release fireballs? I underestimated this cat. Bang! The fox dodged the flames. The flames smashed directly on a large tree behind the fox. Snap! Big trees don't move. And then, there will be no then. Fox, I thought your fireball was amazing. Outcome, that's it. This flame is not as destructive as the one he just had. Pull, what the, why is something so strong here? A flame hit it, and the big tree was actually fine. The place is so quirky. I want to go home. Although the pole thought this in his heart, he did not mean to provoke the bag. Bang bang, the pole rushed up again, scratching the fox. Not to be outdone, the fox struggled to entangle his injured body with a pole. The two animals scuffled desperately with each other. Even at the end, the fox began to make a whining sound. The most primitive, whoosh, sound was punched out. Although the pole is small, he has a very easy skill, and he actually occupies a little advantage. The battle lasted about 10 minutes. The pole rode on the fox's body and issued a declaration of victory. Although the pole is also a little blue nose and swollen face, the hair on the body is also missing a lot. But for poles, it's not a problem. I won. Moreover, I also killed 3 tails of this cargo. You're still a 9-tailed fox. I'll turn you into a tailless fox when I have time. Boom, that's awesome. Just as the pole was making a declaration of victory with his head held high, he heard a voice behind him. The pole was stunned, and immediately turned his head to look behind him. Behind him was a man. A blue-skinned man. That's right, the same color as the skin of the goods of the great priest. But not Weiss. Who is this goods? Meow. The pole stared warily at the man behind him. You're the beerus that your father just brought back from outside, right? The man smiled at the pole. The pole did not speak. It's so powerful, even my Ligil can beat it. The man clapped his hands and praised. The pole was shocked. Your Ligil, I remember it was the name of the fox. Yours, so I beat his pet. His father, is this also the son of the great priest? The brain of the pole is running rapidly, and he has guessed the identity of the other party. Ligier was already crying out in pain at this time, as if he was asking his master for help. My name is Corin. The man smiled slightly, showing a friendly expression on his face to the pole. You don't know how to talk now, do you? It doesn't matter, speaking is actually very simple and easy to learn. Quote. The pole nodded his cat's head. Or I'll teach you. Start with a simple start and slowly learn to speak. Corin said. The pole did not answer. You come down first, Corin said to the pole again. The pole snorted and jumped off the fox's body. Come down, come down. It would have been me who won. Phew. At the moment when the pole had just come down from the fox also swooped out and appeared beside Corin. It's okay, Ligiel, it seems that your cultivation is not at home. Corin smiled. Snap. A scepter appeared in Corin's hand. The pole was on the side, and after just seeing the stick that appeared in Corin's hand, the cat's eyes also showed a look of shock. Where did that thing come from? What surprised the pole even more was still to come. I saw a flame of light suddenly appear on that scepter. The flame of light quickly covered Ligiel's body. The pole is a little confused. How many meanings? Then, the pole was surprised to find out. Ligier's injury is recovering rapidly. In addition, the tail behind Ligier has gradually grown from 6 to 9. In less than a few seconds, Ligiel's injuries fully recovered, and even his hair became shinier than before. The pole was stunned. Thank you, Corin. Ligiel quickly thanked him. Corin smiled slightly and looked at the pole again. The pole's face changed again, and he couldn't help but take a few steps back. Don't be afraid, I have no malice. Corin smiled, Come, learn to talk with me, I'll teach you. Quote. Corin. Ligil swallowed a mouthful of saliva and said quickly. You shut up. Corin reprimanded in a low voice. Ligil. Corin looked at the pole again with a smile. The pole also looked directly at Corin without fear. Let's start with simple words. Corin smiled and said, read along, black fertilizer. Quote. Pole. At the heart of the pole, 10,000 grass mud horses passed by. Paralyzed. Your whole family is black fertilizer. The pole turned around and left. Bully me can't speak, right? Hey, don't go. Corin was stunned. The pole ran faster, increased the speed to the extreme, and jumped directly over the wall into another yard. Corin looked at the departing pole and showed a thoughtful expression. Strange. Why did I say black fertilizer and he ran away? The next moment, Corin looked down at Ligil. Ligil. What did you just say? Corin asked. Corin. I told him about black fertilizer. Ligil wiped his sweat. I said, Corin sighed, I thought I could have fun, but I made you mess with yaxing. Quote. Sorry. I'm sorry. Ligil quickly apologized. What are you still stunned for? Hurry up and call back. Corin reprimanded. Don't you feel embarrassed to let such a small cat bully? Quote. Yes. Ligil nodded vigorously, and hurriedly rushed towards the other courtyard. It's boring. See what Weiss is doing. Isn't it time to study food again? Corin sighed and walked towards Vessa's courtyard. As soon as he entered Vessa's yard, Corin smelled a strange smell. What does this smell like? Why is it so weird? Hey, Weiss, Corin greeted. Is it Corin? Weiss pushed open the window, stuck his head out and greeted Corin, aren't you out playing? Quote. Just came back, I heard that my father brought back 2 cats from outside. Corin smiled. You're really well informed. Weiss smiled, however, it seems that my Beerus is still more spiritual, and I haven't taught him anything, he has already defeated your Ligil. Quote. You saw it all. Corin wiped his sweat. Such a fierce battle, you have to take a look. Weiss smiled. Is this cat self-taught? Corin thought thoughtfully. It should be. It is said that his destruction left bruises on his father's hands without his father's attention. Weiss said with a smile. What do you say? Is there such a thing? Corin was slightly taken aback. It was my father's own mouth. Vase replied. If that's the case, Ligier is in danger. Corin's face changed. Weiss looked calm, and the corners of his mouth rose slightly, evoking a shallow arc. But it's okay, Ligil has also been beaten by me so many times, and it is obviously unlikely that he wants to be killed by that cat. Corin smiled. That's true, too. Weiss nodded. Don't talk about them. Corin smiled and immediately changed the subject. Weiss, have you heard? After a while, Lord Father may have to help Lord Quan Wong divide the universe. Quote. Divide the universe. Weiss was stunned. When the universe first opened, my father felt that there was only one universe and it was obviously a bit lonely, so he decided to divide more than a dozen universes. Corin smiled. Do you want to divide so many universes? Weiss was a little surprised. Yes, basically deciding that an angel is in charge of a universe. Corin smiled. Angels. Is it responsible for managing a universe? Weiss was stunned. The exact situation has not been fully decided. Corin shook his head. Do you want to divide 12 universes? Weiss asked again, isn't it a bit much? There may be more than 12. Corin smiled slightly. There are 6 of our siblings, 6 fathers and 6 adopted children, and more. Do you want to invite other angels over? Weiss asked. It seems to mean that. Corin nodded. Actually, I'm looking forward to this day. An angel is responsible for managing a universe, and when the time comes, we will compare with each other, whose universe will develop faster. Quote. I'm still interested in eating. We angels don't need to eat. Corin wiped his sweat. You're a pure foodie. Although we angels don't need to eat, it doesn't prevent me from enjoying food. Weiss said with a smile. In another courtyard. At this time, the pole was already carefully hidden. This one can't be fought. I finally broke off the fox's tail 3 times. It turned out that the guy named Corin picked up. Not only that, Corin also recovered the fox's physical strength. I'm also going to make a yarn. I'd better keep a low profile. Not long after the pole was hidden, Ligil also chased in from a distance. Ligier sniffed his nose and looked around for the figure of the pole. It's just that the pole is relatively short, and it's really not easy to find him. Hey, Rumsey, Ligier shouted at the top of his voice. The pole was stunned. Who is this goods called? That's what I thought. Ligier, what are you coming to my territory for? A rough voice rang out from inside a house next to the pole. The pole was taken aback. I'll go. There are people in this house. The pole hurriedly hid. Could it be that this is another son of the great priest? Rumsey, snap. The door opened and a pink elephant came out of the room. The pole sneaks over. Not the son of the great priest. This is an elephant. Am I entering the zoo? How did an elephant run out of there? The elephant soon appeared in front of Ligil, huge body. Elephant legs are larger than foxes. If you have something to say, get out of here, don't come to my territory, otherwise believe it or not, I will trample you to death. The elephant shouted angrily at Ligier. Don't say that, Rumsey. Ligil smiled and said, we are also old neighbors, and neighbors should be friendly with each other. Quote, what the hell is going on? Rumsey asked with a cold face. I'm looking for a cat, and that cat seems to have run into your yard. Ligil replied. Cats? Did Lord Grand Priest bring back a cat from outside? Rumsey was stunned. Well, I heard it's two. Ligier said. Two, it's getting more and more interesting. Rumsey smiled. Although I am not used to your various styles, I think it is also very fulfilling to bully and bully new small animals. Quote. Pull, this elephant is so cheap. Am I provoking you? I have no grudges with you. Are you trying to bully new critters? Huh, just now, I beat him up so hard that he ran to your yard in a panic, and he must have found a place to hide. Ligil smiled and said, let's find him together, fix him, and let him know what a newcomer should do. Quote. That's a good offer. Rumsey readily agreed. The pole teethed again. This impudent Ligil. Run trains with your mouth full. Who repaired whom just now? Didn't I fix you? However, this kind of thing cannot be said at all now. Because Ligier's injury fully recovered. If I go out, my miserable appearance knew at first glance that I had been beaten. Although he was unhappy in his heart, he did not dare to move. The yard is so big, where to find it? Rumsey looked at the huge yard, and since it's a cat, it will definitely go up the tree, and it's hard to find a high place to hide. Quote. It is precisely because I can't find it myself, that's why I looked for you together. Ligil smiled. Okay, let's find out. Rumsey nodded. Elephants and foxes then looked around the yard for poles. As a result, after searching for 10 minutes, neither of them found the whereabouts of the pole. The courtyard is very large and planted with various flowers and plants. For a kitten, there are many, many places to hide. Moreover, cats can move places back and forth. It's not that if you look for this place can be sure that no cats are hiding. When you leave, the cat can come back. That cat, he has already hidden all his breath, and he can't feel his breath existence at all. Rumsey shook his elephant nose. Is that all? Ligil was a little upset. If you wait any longer, that cat may have recovered its strength. I won't have the advantage anymore. Wait a minute, you just said. Lord Grand Priest brought back 2 cats. Rumsey asked suddenly. Yes, what's wrong? Ligil nodded. By the way, I heard that the 2 of them seem to be of the same breed, so they should be a little related. Quote. And the other cat? Rumsey asked. It seems to be in the courtyard of Bardo's. Ligil's eyes lit up. Why don't you trick that cat over? Rumsey grinned, the elephant's nose dangling in front of his eyes. At that time, this kitten named Beerus you are talking about, can he not show up? Quote. Ligier smiled knowingly. That's great. After hearing the words of these 2 goods, the pole chuckled in his heart, and he had a bad premonition. Phew. The pole quickly turned into a light and shadow from the wall and ran towards the courtyard where Bardos was. I have to let the peer quickly find a place to hide. They must not be allowed to catch. Even if you don't find a place to hide, if you hide by Bardos's side, it shouldn't be a big problem. You can't let a cat wander around alone. The poles run through the courtyards. And then, lost. It's just too big here. And the layout of each yard is not much different, except for the plants planted are not the same, the rest even the structure of the house is basically the same. Pull. I'm shouting now, can you hear it? It seems a little difficult. The yards here are too big, so far apart, so many high walls, and I don't know the road. You can only beat the grass and scare the snake. The pole had no choice, so he had to look for the yard where Bardos was located again based on his slight memory. In the courtyard of Bardos. Bardos is reading a book. As for the peer, just lying at Bardos's feet, he looked like a good cat. The peer is waiting. When the pole cultivates the destruction to the intermediate level, I will leave with him and go back to find our master. Now I'll keep a low profile. And this woman doesn't seem to have any ill will towards me for the time being. Wait and wait. Dunsey felt a little hungry. Meow, the peer cried out. What's wrong with Elephant Paw? Are you hungry? Bardos put down the book and glanced towards the mound, and touched his head a few times. Meow, Mound nodded. Something for you to eat. Bardos thought for a moment and muttered, I don't have anything good to eat here, but Vase often prepares some delicacies. I'll take some from him. Quote. Snap. As soon as Bardos raised his hand, a scepter appeared in his hand. Mound's eyes widened. Change. Bardos snorted. Suddenly, the crystal ball on the scepter flashed. The next moment, a piece of ham meat was transferred by Bardos from Whis' room. Let's see if it tastes good. Bardos brought the ham meat to Mound's mouth. Dunsey was surprised. Are you teleporting? This female doll is quite remarkable. The peer grows so fat, and the hunger is fast. Looking at the meat delivered to the mouth, it smells quite fragrant. Eat it. It can't be toxic anyway. Only when you have a full stomach can you successfully escape. After figuring this out, Dunsey no longer had the slightest hesitation and immediately tasted it. Well, the taste is okay. But the grilled fish made by the owner was delicious. The grilled fish from the host was simply delicious. That unique taste is definitely not comparable to this ham. But this ham is also much better than our roasted dapong. Dunsey eats with relish. As soon as the Mound finished eating the ham, two figures appeared in the courtyard. One is a fox and the other is an elephant. Bardos. The fox greeted in the courtyard. Hello Bardos, we're here. The elephant also said. Bardos pushed open the window and looked outside, catching a glimpse of Ligier and Rumsey appearing in the courtyard. Heck, isn't that Ligier and Rumsey? Bardos greeted with a smile. Cats are more curious. Hearing the words of the two strangers outside, Dunsey also immediately jumped on the table and stretched out his head to look outside. Dunsey soon saw the two animals. The peer is a little sluggish. These two guys can actually talk. It's amazing. I still don't say anything. The pole guy will talk a little bit. He also just learned it this year later. But only 1 or 2 words. How can these two guys talk so fluently? When I first heard them talking, I thought they were people. As a result, one is a fox and one is an elephant. I heard that Lord Grand Priest brought back 2 cats from outside, and the cat on Bardos's side is called Shampa, isn't it? Ligel asked politely. It was at this time that Shampa stuck out his head. Ligier and Rumsey also saw the peer at a glance. You're Shampa, right? Ligel greeted with a smile. Shampa shook his head vigorously. I'm not a Pampa. I'm a Dunsey. I don't like the name Elephant Paw. Hey, that's right, he's Shampa. Bardos smiled, but he's not quite comfortable with his new name. Quote. Dunsey, what does it mean to be uncomfortable with a new name? I don't like the name at all. You're like Paw, my name is Ligier, and he's my friend Rumsey. Ligier said to Shampa, welcome to our family. Quote. Meow, Mound looked at Ligier and Ramsey. It feels like these two animals look quite friendly. Shampa can't speak yet. Bardos smiled. It's okay Bardos, the two of us can teach him and let him come out with us. Ligier said. Yes, come out and play. Rumsey shook the elephant's nose and said. Shampa, are you going out to play? Bardos asked. Dunsey looked up at Bardos. Are you sure I can go out? Go out if you want to go out. The yard here is huge, you can walk around. But don't get lost. Bardos patted Mound's head. Dunsey nodded vigorously, secretly grinning and stealing pleasure. I seem to be free. Shall I go straight to the pole? Then, we will find a way to get out of this place. Anyway, it's better to follow these two guys out and around first. Meow, the peer shouted, jumped straight from the window, and landed in the courtyard. Phew, Mound appears beside Ligier and Rumsey. Elephant Paw, come to me, I'll carry you out to play. Ligel smiled. Meow, Dunsey suddenly felt, this fox is so good. You're actually willing to let me ride you. Dunsey was a little embarrassed. How can I be embarrassed? There's nothing to be embarrassed about, we'll all be friends in the future. Liggle said with a smile. Liggle is right, we're all friends. Rumsey nodded on the side, you'll all ride on me later, and I'll take you on the slide. Quote. That's good. Ligier patted his paws. Dunsey felt that happiness came so suddenly. The two of them are so nice. Come up, Liggle said to the peer. Meow. Mound nodded, meaning that I wouldn't be polite then. Snap. The peer easily jumped on Ligel's body. That's right. Ligier had a friendly smile on his face. So Bardos, we're out playing. Rumsey greeted. You two, pay attention to proportion. Bardos looked at Ligier and Rumsey and said suddenly. Well, we will send Shampa back safely, please rest assured. Liggle also said. Dunsey was stunned. He couldn't understand the last two sentences. What do you mean? Why pay attention to proportion? Also, what will bring me back safely? I don't understand. It feels too brain-draining. Can't manage that much. After going out in a while, find a way to find the pole. Then I left the place with the pole. That's right. Why didn't I fool the two of them into leaving with them? Well, I can't speak. There's no way to fool around. Mound shook his head. Ligier took the peer and Rumsey walked beside him. Soon, the three animals left the courtyard where Bardos was located and passed through several more courtyards. Finally, three animals appear on a wide platform. In the center of the platform stands a square platform. Mound has never seen anything like this. Shampa, have you heard of the ring? Ligier asked with a smile. Meow. Mound shook his head. Haven't heard of it. After all, that old turtle can't tell the peer everything. Shall I teach you how to fight in the ring? It's interesting. Ligier smiled. Meow. Dunsey was thoughtful and a little curious. I don't understand anyway, but it doesn't stop me from being curious. Over there. Liggle raised his front paws and pointed to the square ring in the distance. Rumsey was stealing pleasure from the sidelines, so happy that the elephant's nose was wagging back and forth. Meow. Dunsey also looked in the direction of the ring. It was like a square table. Do you want to play on that table? Is it a competition who smashes that table first? I think I can smash that table with one paw, right? The peer is a little looking forward to it. Soon, Ligier appeared under the ring with a mound. Shampa, have you heard of the ring? Liggle asked. Snap. Dunsey immediately jumped into the ring and gently patted the ground of the ring with his paws. Ha ha ha, no, no. Ligier laughed. The ring is not a direct shooting of the ring, but refers to two good friends having a competitive match on it. Quote. Meow. Dunsey was stunned. A contest of a competitive nature. What do you mean? In this way, you are watching from the side, and Rumsey and I teach you. Liggle said to the peer. Dunsey nodded vigorously and obediently stood aside. The next moment, Ligier and Rumsey stepped into the ring. So, like Pa, we'll show you a show. Liggle explained. The so-called ring is when the two of us punch me, I punch you, and the other party is not allowed to fight back. Quote. Saying that, Liggle stepped forward and gently patted Rumsey's body. Then, Rumsey came over and hit Ligier with an elephant nose. Next, Ligier went up again and patted Rumsey. After a few rounds, Liggle retracted his claws in time. Special. Rumsey's hands on this product are getting heavier and heavier. If we continue to fight like this, the two of us will really start fighting in the ring. Rumsey can't afford this. Too careful with the eyes. Rumsey, how do I calculate it? This product seems to hit me with one more paw. Just now there was a paw, and it was slapped 3 times at once. I remember it all. Are you just going to stop now? You wait for me. When I've had enough of the newcomer, I'll play you to death. See, Elephant Paw. Liggle asked Elephant Paw. The peer was sleepy on the side. Are you bored? I'll hit you, you hit me. There's no technical content. Can you play something technical? Mound yawned. How? Isn't it fun? Elephant Paw. Liggle asked. Meow, replied Dunsey simply. As for whether you can understand or not, that's your business. Anyway, my meow is not funny. It's so boring. I thought the ring was a match to see who broke the ring. The result, not fun. Liggle was speechless. Hey, what are you doing with so much talk to him? Rumsey lowered his voice and said, just catch him and beat him, do you have to play this boring game? Quote. Didn't I say that before? It is more meaningful to trick him into a well-behaved fight, so that even if he loses, he will be bitter and unable to say ah. Ligier said. The problem is, he doesn't seem interested. Rumsey shook her head. So let's really play around to show him. When he sees such a wonderful performance from the two of us, he may be interested, and he will definitely come up and play with me when the time comes. Liggle proposed. You can try. Rumsey did not object. Remember, don't be serious. If you hurt me, or I hurt you, it looks a little painful. He won't play if he's afraid. Liggle lowered his voice. Don't worry, how could I possibly be serious about you? Rumsey nodded. Shampa, just now Rumsey and I are only the most junior ring match. Since you think it's not interesting, let's go to a slightly more advanced ring match. Ligier smiled at Bardo. Dunsey nodded thoughtfully. The game just now was really not interesting. The more I looked, the more sleepy I became. Shampa, the so-called ring match, to put it bluntly, is that the two sides step into this ring and compete on it. Ligier explained, both sides of the competition are not allowed to leave the ring, and they are not counted as losing until one side is beaten out of the ring. Can you understand this? Quote. Mound understood. This kind of competition seems to be interesting. That was so boring just now. Mound nodded vigorously. Then, I'll show you a more advanced ring match with Rumsey. Liggle smiled. Rumsey was already in the ring, and at this time he was immediately ready for the fight. The two of them had just discussed that they could not use energy. It's just a simple attack game. If you use energy, it scares Shampa. How to play next? Begin, Liggle shouted. And after saying that, phew. Ligier turned into a yellow flame of light and sped straight towards Rumsey. Looking at the speeding Ligier, Rumsey whipped his elephant nose towards the other. Liggle leaned slightly to his side, dodging Rumsey's elephant nose. Bang! Ligier's paw slapped on Rumsey's stomach at once. Rumsey stepped away from the elephant's leg and kicked Ligier's body as well. Ligier's body tumbled a few times in the air and landed steadily. Rumsey rushed forward and was about to continue the attack on Ligier. Stop! Liggle hurriedly gestured. Rumsey's elephant leg had been stepped on. It's just that after seeing Ligier's gesture, it stopped abruptly. Ligier jumped backwards and distanced himself from Rumsey. Liggle was really afraid that Rumsey would step on the goods. That's unbearable. And Rumsey is more careful with this product, he can really do this kind of thing. Rumsey looked at the retreating Ligier, and felt a little unhappy in his heart. Liggle, what do you mean? Are you worried that I will sneak up on you? You shouted stop, can I still do that kind of thing? Am I that shameless? Rumsey glared. Shampa, do you understand? Liggle turned to ask the peer. Mound shook his head in confusion. What? Can't understand. It's just fighting. Fights of a race nature. Can you hear it? Liggle explained. Dunsey nodded vigorously, and I understood this. But then Dunsey shook his head again. Why are you nodding and shaking your head again? Liggle was a little puzzled. Meow, meow meow, meow, Mound explained with a wave of his paw. Liggle, Rumsey. Ligier and Rumsey didn't understand. What the hell are you talking about? There was a silence. Do you want to say that our competition was not fierce enough just now? Rumsey suddenly asked. So, you nod your head to understand it, and shake your head to mean that you don't think it's fun enough. Quote. Mound shook his head again. What the hell do you mean? Liggle was also a little confused. Meow. Dunsey shook his head. You don't mean to say that you didn't understand the match between the two of us, did you? Ligier guessed. Mound nodded vigorously. I really didn't get it. It's interesting to hear, and that's how it turned out to be fighting. Liggle, Rumsey, we fought for a long time, and you actually said that you didn't understand. Hey, I said, the two of us beat him up directly. Rumsey was truly speechless. If you beat him, he won't dare to come out in the future. How can we play? Liggle whispered, and you can see that he is far worse than that Baruth. He is not as strong as that Ruth. The character of this product is not good to run after a dozen. It must be the type that shrinks at home and refuses to come out. That way, we can only play once, and that doesn't make sense. Quote. You seem to have a point in saying that. Rumsey nodded. No, let's fight him again. Liggle proposed. Okay, this last one, but if he still can't understand it, I won't play with you, I'm going to beat him out. Rum West Road. Understood. Ligil nodded and said to the peer, "Hey, Shampa, let's show you again by the two of us, this time you have a good look." In fact, to put it bluntly, it is to see who is more powerful, and there is no other meaning. Quote. The peer is a little confused. Just more powerful than whom? It doesn't seem to make much sense. Who is stronger? Well, I'll just take a look at it. This time, let's move a little bit of authenticity, but don't use energy. Ligier said to Rumsey. Well said. Rumsey nodded. The next moment, Ligier and Rumsey in the ring began to fight again. It is said that energy is not used. But if you really fight. While fighting, these two guys are annoyed. In particular, Rumsey's hard eye is still relatively small. Just now, Ligier came over and accidentally slapped on Rumsey's egg. Rumsey felt Eggman's sadness affectionately. Rumsey was furious. Poof! Rumsey's elephant nose erupted with a white gas. This white gas belongs to a type of energy, and it was sprayed on Ligil's body at that time. Ligil felt a pang of dizziness. Bang! Rumsey's elephant leg kicked straight over, hitting Ligier's body on the spot. Ligier flew backwards and smashed heavily on the ground in the ring, leaving a hole in the ground. Poof! Ligier's mouth was spraying blood, and his body was a little embarrassed. Ligier immediately got up and looked at Rumsey in annoyance. Hey, Rumsey, what do you mean? Ligil was a little on fire. Playing with you, you turned out to be serious. You guy can't afford to play at all. What do you mean? You just hurt me. Rumsey snorted, this is your punishment. Quote. Abominable. I've been letting you, do you think I'm a bully? Ligil said coldly. Really, have you forgotten the last time you were beaten? Rumsey hummed. Last time I didn't know who beat whom. You were obviously beaten by me. Ligil shouted. I see you're itchy today. Rumsey was furious. I've long seen you unpleasant. Rumsey, see how I clean you up today. Ligil said angrily. Snap. After saying this, the tails behind Ligil suddenly became 9. The peer on the side glared at the cat's eye. This fox is not simple. The tails actually became 9. I used to hear the old turtle say. The more fox tails, the higher the spirituality. This is not an ordinary fox. But think about it too. A talking fox is not an ordinary fox in the first place. Hurrah! Several flames of light flashed behind Ligier's tail. These flames of light greeted Rumsey's body. Roar! Rumsey suddenly roared. The huge shock wave directly shattered several rays of light that flew over. Dunsey was stunned. I'll go. The two of them, this is the energy released. It feels like the energy intensity of the two of them is not low. It's even about the same as a pole, right? Moreover, this is the elephant just roared. I felt like my head was spinning. If you accept his roar head on. If I don't get it right, I will be directly stunned by him. Dunsey was a little flustered. What do they mean? Did you deliberately fool me into coming and hitting me? The more Mound thinks about it, the more likely it is. Why are these two goods so bad? Sure enough, the great priest that guy's stuff, there is not a good thing. Both goods are included. The cat's eyes slipped around. Phew. Dunsey took advantage of the fierce fight between these two goods, and quietly left the scene with cat steps. Originally, the figure of the peer was smaller than the two of them. Plus the cat walks with almost no sound. So Ligier and Rumsey didn't even notice the peer leaving. The battle in the ring continues. As they fought, Ligier and Rumsey suddenly felt that something was not quite right. Hey, where's Elephant Paw? Ligil turned his head and glanced in the direction of the mound. Elephant Paw has long since disappeared. Rumsey also looked over and looked around, but there was no Papa's figure. When did he leave? Ligil gritted his teeth. HMPH, that cat doesn't matter anymore. I suddenly felt that bullying a new animal was better than competing with you. Rumsey snorted. Is it? I also think it's time to compete with you. Ligil said coldly. Bang bang. The two animals clashed fiercely in the ring. The peer sneaked onto the distant wall and looked at the two goods from a distance. These two fought really fiercely. Even, in this fierce battle, one of Ligil's tails was trampled by the elephant. Ligil screamed in pain. Dunsey snorted, hurriedly grabbed his tail with his paws, and rubbed it well. It's terrible. These two goods are too barbaric. I don't want to be friends with you. I want to go home. I miss that towering tree. That's my home. Meow. At this moment, Dunsey suddenly heard a cat barking behind him. After hearing this voice, Dunsey was surprised and delighted. This voice is all too familiar. The peer turned his head, and sure enough, he saw the pole that appeared below. Phew! The peer jumped off the wall and landed on the side of the pole. The two cats communicate in cat language. Hey, Dunsey, are you all right? The pole asked with concern, why are you here? Quote, I'm okay. Why am I in trouble? Dunsey was stunned, asked rhetorically, and then looked at the pole in surprise, what's wrong with your body? Why does it hurt? Who injured you? Quote, the pole immediately told Ligier and Rumsey about it. I wanted to come and inform you, but it turned out that this yard is too big and I got lost. The pole said in a deep voice, I didn't expect to meet you here while walking. By the way, didn't they go to you? Quote, are your injuries okay? Dunsey asked with concern. Don't get in the way, you should get better after a few days of recuperation. The pole smiled. You come up with me. The peer lifted his cat's claw and pointed to the wall above. Up, do. The pole is puzzled. You'll know when you go up. Mound grinned. The two cats quickly climbed the wall. Standing on the wall, the pole saw Rumsey and Ligier fighting in the ring in the distance. How did the two of them fight? The pole indicates that it is speechless. Ha 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 ha, these two idiots pulled relations with me at the beginning and brought me to this place. Dunsey smiled and said, then, what kind of ring are they going to fight with me? I initially thought that the ring was the one who smashed the ring faster, but it turned out to be a fight for a long time. I said I didn't understand, the two of them said to show me a demonstration, and then they typed, and they really turned it on. Quote, Pole. Chapter 11. Your luck has always been so good, the pole laughed dryly. But don't say it yet. The strength of those two guys is not simple, and the energy they condense is even stronger than mine. Dunsey said in a deep voice, and what I didn't expect was that your primary destruction would not be able to break that fox. Quote, I didn't expect that fox to be so strong. Now the two of them are equal in strength, which means that the elephant also very strong. The pole also changed color slightly on his face. I'm thinking about another question. They are all so strong. What about Bardos and Weiss? What about them? What is their strength? Dunsey has a bad premonition. By the way, I forgot to tell you, the great priest doesn't have only two children. The fox was raised by another son of the grand priest, and that son had a strange stick in his hand, and he used that stick to point at the fox, and in a few moments the fox's injuries were completely healed. Quote, the stick you said, is it pointed underneath, with a ball suspended on a stick on top? Dunsey asked. That's right, you've seen it too. The pole was stunned. Bardos has it too, said Dunsey. As for the scepter of the great priest, it was directly recovered by him after finding the pole and peer. Therefore, the poles and peers have not seen the scepter of the great priest. That stick is amazing, how about you steal it? The pole had a whim. We can't use it, do we? We were too small to take it. Mound shook his head. This is also. The pole was a little disappointed. Anyway, you first comprehend the destruction to the intermediate level, this is our only way out. Dunsey sighed, don't worry, if we succeed in returning home, I will practice extreme intention gong well. Quote, you are cultivating now, why did you go back to cultivate? The pole said angrily. You said, what if the mid-level destruction is not the opponent of the great priest? Dunsey asked, do you really want to stay as their pets? Quote, if the intermediate destruction does not work, it is advanced, if the advanced is not good, it is an expert, and if the expert is not good, it is a master. You can always beat that guy. The pole gritted his teeth. Dunsey, wait a minute, what did you just say? Dunsey asked. What? The pole was stunned, not understanding what the peer was asking. I mean, I wanted to ask you. How many levels of destruction are there? Dunsey asked. How many levels are there? The pole wiped his sweat. What did you do when the master was lecturing? You're not going to be asleep, are you? Quote, hey, Dunsey scratched his head. Sure enough, let me say it, such important information, you actually fell asleep, I really don't know what to say about you. The pole sighed. I didn't know that the master taught us this and went to sleep. I thought I could always accompany the owner. Dunsey said, and the cat's eyes began to roll, feeling that his eyes were a little moist. I was very happy when I was with my owner. The pole also said. Don't say it, I'm about to cry when you say it. This is only a few hours apart from the owner. I feel like it's been years. Mound rubbed his eyes. I'll take you back, the pole comforted. Mound nodded vigorously. There are several levels of destruction, from low to high: beginner, intermediate, advanced, expert, master, grandmaster, king, emperor, venerable, emperor, sage, said the pole. Stop. Dunsey widened his cat's eyes. What are you kidding? Quote, I'm not kidding, or the master said that there is no upper limit to destruction. Pole rode. You mean to say, how many levels are ahead? Dunsey wanted to cry. Yes, the pole nodded. Dunsey, ahem, I always felt that the middle pole you said meant the ultimate level. Dunsey wiped his sweat. I still felt strange at the time. Why did you just start the final level? It turned out to be the meaning. Quote, ultimate. There really is this level. The pole replied. Really? Didn't you say there is no upper limit? Dunsey asked. Infinite, this is the final upper limit. Pole explains. Infinity. When do you have to cultivate to this level? Dunsey asked. I feel that I have to cultivate for tens of thousands of years. The pole laughed dryly. The premise is that you don't live forever. Quote, hey, if we can live for 100 years, we can already be considered a high life. Dunsey shook his head. The old turtle has lived for a long time. It says it lived for 100 million years. Quote, blow it, it's impossible. The pole shook his head in disbelief. I don't believe it either. Dunsey rode. Bang, bang. Quote, the two cats were chatting about the sky, but they heard two muffled noises from the ring in the distance. Rumsey the elephant crashed to the ground. Ligier the fox also fell to the ground. It seems that these two goods are not lightly injured. As for who wins and who loses, it seems that Rumsey won. Because, the moment Rumsey fell, he used his huge body to press out all of Ligel's. What's next? Dunsey asked. After these two guys are treated, they will definitely find us trouble. Quote, this yard is so big, just find a place to hide. You can just give me the wind by my side. I want to raise the destruction to the intermediate level as soon as possible. Pole proposed. Good. The pole did not object. Two cats jumped off the wall and moved back and forth through this huge courtyard. It didn't take long for the two cats to find a place where the vegetation was relatively dense. And inside this hidden place, there is also a cave in the ground. The hole in the ground is still relatively large. At least with the size of the pier, you can drill in, and there is even a lot of leeway. It's a good place. The pole nodded in satisfaction. It's a rat hole, right? Mound guessed. That's right, I've smelled rats. The pole answered. Let's go get rid of the rats first, or these little mice are annoying here. Dunsey proposed. I thought the same way, just shoot them to death. The pole nods. The two cats entered the mouse hole and crawled all the way inside. There are many curves in the mouse hole, and there are also many branches. But for the two cats, Pole and Mound, exploring this mouse hole couldn't be easier. It took about 10 minutes for the pier and Pole to reach the innermost part of the rat hole. No rats found. The two cats were also a little sluggish after seeing this innermost structure of the mouse hole. There's nothing wrong with it. The innermost space is really wide. Even the pier can be done in this space to roll over. Moreover, there is a lot of food in it. These things are stolen by rats. The innermost place should be called a warehouse. It seems that the rats are preparing to spend the winter. Although poles and piers do not know if there is winter here. Yes, this place is really good, it is perfect for cultivation. The pole nodded in satisfaction. Moreover, with the body of that fox and elephant, it is impossible to enter this place, and it is difficult to find us. Quote, yes, there is still food here, even if you can't comprehend the destruction of the intermediate level for a day, it's no problem to cultivate here for 10 days and a half month. The pier replied. Well, that's such a pleasant decision. The pole smiled slightly. Dunsey, there is no need for you to put a guard here, you have time to cultivate and cultivate, at least master the entry-level destruction. Quote, that's fine. Dunsey did not object. Yes, I have to practice well. Otherwise I might drag the hind legs of the pole. How much do you remember the extreme skill that the master gave us? The pole asked. There can be a 6 or 70. Mound scratched his head. Okay, you first practice it to show me, and I'll point it out to you if it's not suitable. Pole rode. The peer no longer had the slightest hesitation, and in front of the pole, began to wave the cat's claws. The position of the two cats was gradually pulled apart. The next moment, I saw that the great priest was looking at the crystal ball on the scepter with one eye closed. Inside the crystal ball, the location of the two cats has already emerged. Oh, what is that? The great priest was slightly stunned. Is this how they cultivate energy? Quote. The great priest carefully looked at the movements made by the peer again. The great priest suddenly felt that these actions made by this fat cat were simply remarkable. Could that powerful destructive power be cultivated through these movements? The great priest was a little curious. Great priest, what are you looking at? At this time, a voice sounded near the great priest. Oh, Lord Quanwang. The grand priest withdrew his scepter for the time being, saluted the other party, and explained, occasionally passing by a certain planet, I found two very interesting cats and brought him back. Quote. Appearing opposite the great priest was the god standing at the top of this universe, the king. Behind the king, there were two slender guards. There was no expression on the faces of the two guards. Is it fun? Quan Wang asked innocently. Yes, the two of them have cultivated energy through their own efforts. The great priest smiled. Maybe some relics were found on that planet. I searched around there and found no clues. Quote. If it's fun, take the time to bring them over for me to play. All kings rode. Okay, definitely. The grand priest did not object. Great priest, how many universes did you say you want to divide before? Quan Wang asked. Let's tentatively set 18. The great priest smiled and said, the homophony of 18 means to be sent in the God world, and I hope that every universe can flourish. Quote. Well, then when can I erase these universes? Quan Wang asked. Grand priest. 2 guards. Ahem. When something goes wrong with these universes, erase them. The great priest wipes his sweat. Okay. Quan Wang nodded in agreement. I'm looking forward to it. Hurry up and let these universes go wrong. Quote. The 2 guards couldn't stop wiping their sweat. Lord Quanwang, if these universes have just been divided, how can they have to grow for tens of millions of years before there may be any problems? The great priest said with a dry laugh. It's okay, it's just tens of millions of years, I'll wait slowly. Quan Wang grinned, revealing an innocent smile. Okay. The great priest nodded slightly, then looked up again. Lord Quanwang, I plan to let an angel manage a universe, what do you think? Quote. Aha, the king had no opinion. The universe needs angels to govern, and it also needs gods who created planets and humans, mused the great priest. Creating planets and humans seems interesting. Quan Wang nodded vigorously. If you create the planet and human beings, it is called the creation god, and I have searched around during this time to see if I can find a suitable creation god. The grand priest continued, it would be best to find 18 creator gods, one creator god responsible for creating a universe of planets and humans. Quote. Quan Wang nodded again. You can say whatever you want. I don't object anyway. The universe here was originally formed by the Big Bang on a very large continent. The great priest sighed. It's hard to imagine how big this continent is. Great priest, is this continent as big as our current universe? Quan Wang asked. To be precise, it should not be as big as the current universe. The grand priest smiled and explained, after all, after the Big Bang on that continent, the universe is also expanding. Now the size of this universe is 100 times larger than that continent, right? Quote. In a few years, will it be even bigger? Quan Wang blinked his bean-like little eyes and asked. Yes, it will be bigger, boundless. The head of the great priest. It's exciting to think about it. I can erase a universe with a wave of my hand, I'm looking forward to it. Quan Wang waved his little hand. Grand priest. 2 guards. The 3 of them wiped their sweat together. Why do you always think about erasing the universe? Well, I'm going to find the creator god, it may take some time. The great priest smiled and said, when the 18 creation gods are assembled, let's set about dividing the universe. Quote. Go quickly, go quickly. Quan Wang nodded vigorously. Ah, the great priest said to leave, but in a flash, he disappeared through teleportation. Soon, the great priest entered the vast sea of stars and explored in this universe. Although the continent had a big explosion, this huge cosmic system was formed. But after tens of millions of years of deposits, after the explosion of the continent, it also formed a sphere. Spheres of different sizes. The great priest called these spheres planets. Moreover, after the explosion of that continent, some places have not been completely blown up, and they are still in the process of exploding. Such spheres carry light and heat, which can provide temperature and light to other spheres. Such a sphere, the great priest called a star. The great priest sighed for a while. What a curious sight. Our city of angels, is that how it came? It doesn't seem to be. Now is not the time to lament this. I have to find the Creator as soon as possible. Angels' Courtyard. If you look down from above, the Angels' Courtyard covers a very large area. This was a piece of residence opened by the great priest near the palace of the king. The grand priest had 3 sons, Corin, Savoy, and Ves. The grand priest also had 3 daughters, X, Macarita, and Bardos. In addition, the grand priest had 4 adopted sons, Camberley, Conic, Cacadal and Mojito. And 2 adopted daughters, Avamo and Martinu. How do you distinguish who is biological, who is an adopted son or an adopted daughter? Just look at the appearance. But everything that looks a little crooked and cracked dates as raised. Those who look more beautiful and look more beautiful are the ones of the great priest himself. The treatment of biological and raised is naturally different. Currently, only the children of the great priest's own have pets. Spiritual pets. After all, such small animals are rare. At the beginning of the universe, it was too difficult to find spiritual animals. Just like the planet where Yuandong was located, the great priest searched around, but only found the 2 cats of the pole and the pier. Other animals. It's really just animals. The mind is too simple. Only children have pets. Yes, Corin was pro, so the grand priest gave him a fox, that is, Ligier. The eldest daughter Kessie was also relative, and the great priest gave her an elephant. Bardos and Wes have just acquired 2 cats, Elephant Paw and Beerus. There are also Macarita and Sava, who also have their own pets. Other angels, no, but the great priest said, you will have it sooner or later. It's just a matter of time. Because it is impossible to find so many spiritual animals at once. Those adopted sons and daughters do not believe. You're too differentiated. It's like Conic's yard, there are no pets. Because, the angel Cornic is an adopted son. At this time, the angel Conic was holding a corn stick in his hand and was teasing a little mouse. There are no pets. Is it bad for me to tease the little mice in my own yard? Conic teased the little mouse boredly. Speaking of which, this little mouse looks quite ugly. The yellow hair and sharp fangs are not very cute at first glance. Conic is also not very good looking. At least not as handsome as Weiss or Colin. Hey, little one, are we considered to be the same sickness? Conic sighed. Squeak, squeak. The yellow-haired mouse raised his head to look at Conic, his eyes were exceptionally bright. Before you know it, you have already given birth to spiritual intelligence, which is really not simple. Conic sighed. Do you want me to adopt you? In the future, if you cultivate well, you may become a true god. Quote. The yellow-haired little mouse nodded vigorously. This yellow-haired little mouse can also be regarded as fine. After all, it is normal to live in the courtyard of angels, absorb the spiritual energy of angels, and give birth to spiritual intelligence. So, I'll give you a name. Conic smiled and said, just call it Ketra, okay. Quote. The yellow-haired little mouse nodded like a wavy drum. I have a name. I also have a master. Unknowingly, you have also been following me for 3 years, and I have also taught you a lot of things. Conic sighed. The 2 of us are also related, right? Quote. The yellow-haired little mouse nodded again. But don't be happy so early. There is a very important thing that you need to do, and only if you do this well, I will adopt you. Conic looked at the yellow-haired mouse. Quetra was slightly stunned. What do you need me to do? There are 2 cats in your house, and you find a way to beat them both. Conic smiled. Quetra scratched her head with her front paws. Cat. What is a cat? I've never heard of this animal. Well, you don't think you've ever seen a cat, haven't you? Cornic laughed. It's normal, because you've grown up here since you were a kid and haven't seen a cat. But it doesn't matter. In short, you go to your house, repair the 2 guys who occupy your house, and defeat them. Yes, it's that simple. Quote. Beat them. Okay, I can try. Not long ago, I stumbled over an elephant. How dare anyone come to my house? Look if I don't beat him all over the ground to find teeth. The little mouse Quitra ran towards his house in high spirits. Looking at the back of the little mouse leaving, the corners of Konik's mouth also rose slightly, evoking a shallow arc. In fact, there is nothing wrong with raising this little mouse as a pet. Why do I have to ask Lord Archangel to find me a pet? Isn't this one I found myself? And this little mouse's talent is still very good. In just a few years, his strength has also improved to an extraordinary level. I feel like Quitra can easily hang Ligier or Rumsey. As for Beerus and Elephant Paw, letting Quitra challenge them may take Quitra to a new level. The previous battle between Beerus and Ligil, Konik also watched with a scepter. The yellow-haired mouse Quitra soon appeared at the entrance of her home. Quitra sniffed. What does it smell like? This sniffing didn't matter. Quitra didn't know why, and suddenly felt a burst of horror. Never felt this way. Why is this? But one thing is for sure, there are strange guys in the house. An animal called a cat. Quitra took a deep breath, and the uneasiness in his heart disappeared immediately at the thought that he would soon become that person's pet. Quitra has long belonged to the adult rat. Quitra knew that the people who lived in this courtyard were true gods. A god called an angel. They possess extraordinary abilities. If you really become their pet, it is very possible to live forever. Moreover, there may be a chance to become a real god. Cultivate with God. What else can you become if you don't become a god? Quitra is still looking forward to her future. Phew. Quitra burrowed into her home. Inside the rat hole, rods and piers are being cultivated. At this moment, the sound of the mouse drilling the hole also reached the ears of the pole. The pole looked into the distance. Dunsey, something is coming. The pole quickly patted the dun. Dunsey immediately came to his senses. The pier soon sensed that something was really coming in. It can't be the rats coming back, will it? Mound sniffed his nose. It seems to be. The pole nodded. Did you say he was coming back to die? Dunsey sighed. It's a pity that we don't eat mice now, let's slap him to death. Quote. Well, shoot to death, otherwise it's quite a hindrance. The pole did not object. The main thing is to delay our cultivation. Although it was his home, we did it in order to get back to our home as soon as possible. Quote. Don't be poor, why so many words? Dunsey rode. The two cats were just inside the hole waiting for the mice to arrive. It didn't take long for the two cats to see a yellow-haired mouse appear on the opposite side. Squeak, creak, the yellow-haired mouse yelled at the two cats, declaring its sovereignty. However, Quitra panicked in his heart. What's going on? Why do I feel my heart beat faster after seeing these two guys? Why are the two of them so terrible? I've tripped over elephants. I also dragged the tail of that fox once, and dragged it down a lot of hair. I'm not afraid of them. Even the tiger over there, I dared to swagger in front of him. Ah, run over. Tigers are scary, but that's a tiger, which gives the rat a very oppressive feeling. Just, why am I afraid of cats? Quitra was puzzled. It felt as if it was. After seeing these two monsters called cats, there was a bloodline suppression. Before the war started, I provoked it myself. That's not good. Meow, the pole shouted. After hearing the call of the pole, Quitra was terrified. How scary. Why do I feel this cry so terrifying? Even more terrifying than the sound of a tiger roar. Quitra almost peed in fright, turned and ran. So scared. Shoot him to death. The pole is facing the pier. Leave it to me. Mound nodded and swooped up. The cat's speed is still very fast. The pier just rushed up with an arrow and slapped Quitra underneath with one claw. Quitra was slapped to the ground by a paw, her mouth not a large mouthful of dirt, and her body felt extremely heavy. Quitra had a feeling of liver and gallbladder splitting. At this critical juncture of life, Quitra finally broke out completely. Fear to the extreme is anger. Endless anger made the energy in Quitra's body gush. Boom! The powerful energy centered on Quitra and spread around. Fortunately, this mouse hole is relatively strong, but it is also earth and rock falling, and it seems that it may collapse at any time. It's nothing if the rat hole collapses. The question is, how could this mouse have such powerful energy? The poles and piers were stunned, and for a while they were a little confused. Could it be that this product is also a pet owned by the son of the great priest? It's just that you don't look like a pet like this. The pole thinks this product looks uglier than me. The pole suddenly missed the owner a little. The owner said I was ugly. I think the host is amusing me. The yellow-haired mouse's body suddenly became several times larger, becoming even larger than the peer. Bang! Quetra hit his head directly into Mount's body. Faw! The peer flew out upside down at that time, smashing heavily on the wall behind him, and the whole cat felt bad. Poof! A mouthful of blood spewed out from the peer, slipped down the walls of the cave, and the whole cat went soft. Meow! The pole was furious, his hair stood upside down, and he stared at Quetra with a scowl on his face. At this moment, Quetra was also angry to the extreme. As for the bloodline suppression or something, because Quetra's extreme anger has gradually dissipated. As a little mouse, Quetra looked directly at the opposite pole, not afraid at all. Moreover, my body is about the same age as you, even bigger than you, do you think I will be afraid of you? Squeak! Quetra let out a rat's shrill cry and took the initiative to attack the pole. The poles did not dare to be careless. Even the peer was seriously injured by him at once. If I am not careful, I and the peer will be accounted for here. Broken. Bad. Quote. The pole spat out words, destroyed the energy condensation in his hand, and swung out a claw. Ah! However, a scene that surprised the pole happened, and I saw that Quetra actually dodged the destruction she unleashed. The speed of this product is really agile. Bang! Quetra directly used her mouse head and hit the body of the pole. The body of the pole slipped backwards and scratched the ground with its cat's claws, leaving 4 long marks on the ground. Meow! The pole was angry. I actually let a mouse fly away. The pole rushed up with an arrow and slapped it with a paw. Snap! Quetra also raised her rat front paws in an attempt to fend off the pole's attack. It's just that the mouse's 2 front paws are too short. This is his shortcoming. As soon as Quetra stretched out her left claw to resist the cat's claw of the pole, she saw where the end of the cat's claw was, and conjured 5 sharp blades like a sickle, with a gloomy chill. Quetra was so frightened that her soul was about to fall. Quetra didn't dare to fight hard, hurriedly fell backwards, and luckily dodged the attack. Quetra believes that in terms of physical fitness, he compares to this cat. There is no comparison at all. This cat is better than himself in both movements and aspects. How can I defeat him? Squeak! Quetra quickly stepped backwards. Soon, Quetra was blocked by the wall behind her. You're dead. The pole spat out words and looked at Quetra with a murderous expression. Squeak! Squeak! Quetra shouted loudly, pointing to the ground here. The pole understood. The mouse wanted to say that this was his home. We ran to his house. Is it still reasonable? The pole is happy. Cats catch mice, it's nature. Just like dogs like to bully cats, the same is true. The cat is now in the mouse's house. Do you still need a reason? Meow! The pole didn't mean to be polite with Quetra at all, and after saying this, he scratched a paw towards Quetra. There was no way back behind Quetra. At this critical juncture, Quetra did not know where the courage came from, gritted her teeth and stepped forward, allowing the claws of the pole to leave a long bloodstain on her body. Bang! The next moment, Quetra's head also hit the pole's body hard. The pole felt as if all his internal organs were misaligned, and he cried out in pain. What an evil door! How is this mouse so brave? Dare to call out at our cat. If I don't subdue him today, I'm not a pole. The pole was thoroughly enraged. Although the pole had fought with Ligil for a while before, it consumed a lot of physical strength and his body was injured. However, after these few hours of cultivation, the pole's physical strength has almost recovered, and the injury has improved by half. The pole really misses his master Yuandong. The extreme skill taught by the master actually has a healing effect. Although the speed of treatment is not as fast as the stick of the guy named Corin. But it's also very good. It can be said that now that he fights with Quetra, the pole has recovered nearly 90% of its strength. Despite this, the pole couldn't take Quetra for a while. If you continue to fight like this, you will inevitably lose both. But the pole never admitted. I'm a cat. I am the cat of the owner Yuandong. How can I lose to a mouse? Besides, I will still work hard. Extreme effort can heal my wounds. Thinking of this, the pole did not flinch. It should be the rats that should retreat. I'm a cat. Meow! The pole once again rushed towards Quetra. Cletra also had no intention of throwing in the towel. Because Konik said, as long as he can defeat the cat, Konik will adopt him as a pet. Angel's pet treatment is extremely high. Moreover, one day he may become a real god. The mice in the courtyard of the angel house are different from ordinary mice. And small animals like mice are inherently intelligent. For example, if you poison one mouse by sprinkling rat poison in some place, the other rat will never take the medicine again. Cletra stepped forward, waving her short front paws and arguing with the pole. For a time, the cat and the mouse fought fiercely in this mouse hole. With her spirit of not being afraid of death and being stunned, Ketra protects her home to the death. No, not guarding your own home. Ketra's main goal is to defeat these two cats. By the end, Cletra was scarred by the pole. Rao is so, Cletra does not mean to be timid, and still desperately attacks the pole. The poles are a little impressed by Cletra's rat spirit. What are you special? What are you fighting with a cat like me? The pole was beating, and suddenly I felt a little bored. Anyway, scratch this mouse like this, and the anger will disappear. This is the price he paid for injuring the mound. And until now, the pole also clearly knows that this mouse also has spiritual intelligence. If not, it's the pet of a son of the great priest. It's a pity that it can't speak. There is no way to communicate. If it is really the pet of the son of the great priest, is it a bit of a shock to beat him to death now? I haven't cultivated destruction to the intermediate level. There are so many things going on today. It seems that it is difficult to cultivate destruction to the intermediate level in one day. I'd better keep a low profile. Thinking of this, the pole did not hit Cletra hard in the next attack. Despite this, Cletra was also beaten miserably. The hair on Cletra's body was almost gone, and the cave was filled with the smell of rat blood. Of course, there is also cat blood. Bang! The pole found that the mouse was like this, and was still rushing towards him, so he had to put his paw on the ground. The pole just pressed its paws against the mouse's head and rubbed the ground. Obey or not, the pole spits out words. Squeak, creak, quote. Cletra was not convinced. So, the pole pressed the mouse's head again and rubbed it on the ground several more times. Obey, the pole asked again. Squeak, creak, Cletra didn't mean to throw in the towel. Meow, the pole came to temper at that time. I'll give you the steps, you won't go down yet. You're still arguing with me. You little mouse is still pretending to be with me here. You're not convinced, are you? Then I'll rub you until you're done. The pole pressed against Cletra's head again, rubbing the ground. Cletra felt that her face was smoothed out, and the yellow hair on her upper body was rubbed clean, turning into a bald mouse. Cletra hated the cat. You wait for me. One day I'm going to rub you on the ground. Provided I'm alive. The pole pressed Cletra and played with it for a while. Ah! The next moment, I saw that Cletra's body suddenly shrank several times and returned to the appearance of a small mouse. Meow! The pole was stunned, and immediately pressed the body of the little mouse and rubbed the ground again. Aren't you not convinced? I'll leave you without a single hair on you. The pole rubbed against Cletra for a few minutes, and found that the goods had fainted long ago. But the heartbeat is still there, and I can't die for a while. The pole snorted and pulled Cletra's body a few times with his paws, turning him over. Immediately afterwards, the pole used his own cat's claw as a blade to shave the hair on Cletra's body clean. After doing all this, the face of the pole was also written with a smile of victory. Kill him. Mound appeared beside him, sharp claws aimed at Cletra's heart. Don't worry, don't you think it's strange? This mouse is very spiritual, and if it is not good, it is a pet of the child of the great priest. Before defeating the great priest, let's keep a low profile. The pole proposed. While I'm defenseless, Mound sullen, I'll wipe his ass with him. Quote. Saying that, Mound rubbed his ass against Cletra's body. Pole, I said I fought for so long, you didn't show up, it turned out to run to the toilet. The pole wipes the sweat. This rat made a sneak attack and hit me on the stomach, causing me to have diarrhea for a long time. Dunsey grinned, hee hee, but I pulled all the in his warehouse. Quote. The pole covered the door of his head, and he didn't know how to say it for a while. You're quite vindictive. Let's go, we can only change places to cultivate, it's a pity. The pole sighed. Yes, it's rare to find such a good cultivation position. Dunsey also said, by the way, your injuries are okay, right? Quote. I think you also discovered that the extreme skill taught to us by the master seems to be able to heal wounds. The pole grinned. Mound nodded vigorously. Let's go, let's get out of here first. Pole greeting. Wait a minute, anyway, this mouse has fainted, why not continue cultivating here? Dunsey suggested, and he doesn't always want to work, right? He woke up in a weak state, and when he wakes up, we can recover some energy, right? Quote. The pole thinks about it too. It's just that, it just stinks. Mound wipes his ass with this little mouse. Don't you feel panic? After all, the hair on this little mouse was plucked out for me. It's a little smelly. The pole glanced at the little mouse, and could even see the poop of the mound. The pole is a bit disgusting. Dunsey, don't you guy wipe his ass after pulling shit. You just deliberately keep the little mouse to wipe your ass. It's so wicked. I'll change places to cultivate. You are here watching him, and as soon as he wakes up, immediately knock him unconscious. After the pole finished speaking, he turned around and entered another cave and began to cultivate. The peer did not leave, just guarding Kutra in the distance. Of course, Dunsey was not idle and continued to cultivate in this cave. Outside, Koenig held the scepter in his hand, and the crystal ball on the scepter also appeared in the cave. Koenig covered his head, a little speechless. Little mouse, you are miserable enough. Koenig has basically guessed this result. That's a cat. The little mouse single-handedly challenged 2 cats, which is already very remarkable. Although the little mouse has not seen a cat before. But this kind of bloodline suppression is innate. And through this battle, the yellow-haired little mouse, the bald little mouse Kutra finally defeated the suppression in the bloodline. Perhaps from now on, Kutra will no longer be afraid of cats. These are all experiences for you. I hope you can grow up as soon as possible. As for saving you, even if you die, I can bring you back to life. These experiences are valuable assets for you. Come on, little mouse. Come on, my Kutra. Koenig didn't take care of the little mouse anymore, and certainly wouldn't treat him. The premise of treating him is that the little mouse can come back on its own. Koenig was just about to take back the scepter, but suddenly found the pole and peer that were punching the cat. Koenig didn't care about their cat punch. At this time, I looked carefully and suddenly found that the 2 cats' fist techniques were very similar. Moreover, Koenig was surprised that the 2 cats seemed to have cultivated energy through their own cultivation. Other animals are different. The other small and large animals. For example, Ligil the fox, Rumsey the elephant, and Kutra the mouse. Even the tiger of Makarita and the dog of Sava. These animals have been taught by us, so they have cultivated energy. Only these 2 cats are different. Are they the energy cultivated through this peculiar cat fist? Koenig looked closely at the cat punches made by the 2 cats. Suddenly it felt like the cat fist was amazing. Well, do you have to tell Lord Grand Priest about this as soon as possible? Thought about it. After all, Koenig still contacted the High Priest through the scepter. Lord Priest, said Koenig immediately and respectfully. It's Koenig, is there something wrong? The voice of the Great Priest also came. It's about Beerus and Elephant Paw. Koenig hurriedly said, I accidentally discovered. The cat punch that the 2 of them fight seems to be a very deep skill. You found out too. The Great Priest smiled slightly. Has Lord Great Priest known for a long time? Koenig was stunned. Koenig, do you have any good proposals? The Grand Priest did not answer Koenig's question, but asked. Good proposal. Koenig didn't understand what the High Priest meant. I have a better proposal, but I hope Koenig will cooperate well. The Great Priest smiled. Lord Great Priest, please say. Koenig replied. Please ask Koenig to keep a good record of their cat punches, and when I'm done with the matter at hand, I'll study it properly. The Great Priest smiled. As you said, Konix, maybe it is really possible to comprehend a new skill through their cat fist. All this time, you didn't have your own combat skills. It's time to give you a new skill in the process of governing the universe. Quote. I know what to do, Lord Priest. Koenig nodded solemnly. So be it. After the Great Priest finished speaking, he directly cut off the call. The Great Priest continued to explore in this sea of stars, looking for valuable life forms. It's just that the whole universe has looked for a circle. The Great Priest still did not find a life form that could succeed the Creator God. The human world has looked for it. No, let's go around the prefecture. Maybe there will be gains. Although this possibility is not very great. But it's also good to go and see. Phew. The great priest appeared in the underground mansion in just an instant by teleporting through teleportation. Underworld. King Yan Luo is playing cards with a few imps. Too idle. It's just too idle. The universe has just opened. Dead small animals without spiritual intelligence, souls are not under the control of King Yan Luo. Those souls are directly into the soul pool, where they undergo a big shuffle and reincarnation. You are an ant in this life, accidentally trampled to death by something. Then your soul will enter the soul pool of the underworld to be cleansed. After cleaning, your memories will disappear. Or, after purging, you are directly washed away by the soul pool and disappear completely. Neither this world nor that world will cease to exist. If you're lucky, your soul will be placed in the area of reincarnation. Then, you are reincarnated as another small animal. After the little animal died, it continued to enter the soul pool to wash it. After repeating this for several reincarnations, you may become a human. Or become an animal that has turned on its mind. The world is so cruel. At this time, in the hall of this king of Yan Luo. King Yan Luo is fighting the landlord with two imps. A2. King Yan Luo hit a 2. Bomb. The imp plays the card. Boy, you dare to up. King Yan Luo's face darkened, and he looked at the little ghost. The little ghost was so frightened that he hurriedly put the bomb back. Don't. The imp changed his mind. What about you? Do you want it? King Yan Luo asked another imp. In addition, this little ghost also shook his head vigorously. What do I want? I would like to. Besides, I don't dare ask for it. Yes 3. King Yan Luo dropped 2 3s. Yes 2. The imp threw down 2 2s. King Yan Luo looked straight at the little ghost. The little ghost's face changed slightly, and he hurriedly took the pair 2 inches back, and struggled to tear down the 445,566 and throw down the right 4. Is there a right 4 you don't out? You out of the right 2. Can you play cards? King Yan Luo squinted. Little ghost, I'm dismantling this right, is it good for 4? Well, I still have to study hard. Ha 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 ha. The little devil laughed dryly. Yes, there's a lot to learn. King Yan Luo nodded in satisfaction. Yes 10. Another imp plays cards. Yes King Yan Luo played his cards. Don't. The little ghost said quickly. King Yan Luo looked at the little ghost again without blinking. The little ghost is a little weak-hearted. Or, I fried. The imp asked. Do you play or do I play my cards? King Yan Luo shouted. So, I don't want. The imp was about to cry. If you want to blow up, hurry up and fry. King Yan Luo urged. Little ghost, what the hell are you going to let me blow up? Bomb. The little ghost was helpless and carefully dropped a bomb. Don't. Another imp said quickly. King fried. King Yan Luo laughed and smashed Wang down with a shake of his hand. 2 imps. It turned out to be waiting here. A3. King Yan Luo casually dropped a 3. I only have 1 card left. Quote. A2. The little ghost hurriedly died. King Yan Luo. Yes 5. The imp plays the card. Yes, Hugh. Another little ghost rode. Don't. Lien card. In addition, this little devil directly left in a set of cards. King Yan Luo's face was dark at that time. Will you play cards? Huh, who is this? At this time, the little ghost suddenly saw the great priest who appeared behind King Yan Luo. I asked if you could play cards. Do you play cards like this? King Yan Luo looked at the little devil with a cold face. Lord Yan Luo, there is someone behind you. The little ghost hurriedly said. Less lying to me there. I am the most powerful god in this world. Can I not know that there is someone behind me? King Yan Luo snorted, turned back to the great priest and said, Are you right? Quote. King Yan Luo quickly turned his head. The next moment, King Yan Luo's entire body trembled violently. This. I felt as if I was a supreme god. It won't be the great priest, right? I heard that a great priest has come to the god realm, and the entire god realm will be controlled by him in the future. King Yan Luo mechanically turned his head again and looked at the great priest who appeared behind him. King Yan Luo was frightened, and at that time he knelt on the ground and kowtowed vigorously. I don't know that the great priest has arrived, and I am far from welcome, please forgive me. King Yan Luo broke out in cold sweat. King Yan Luo, you look very leisurely. The great priest put his hands behind his back and said with a smile. Don't you dare, King Yan Luo shouted all over his body. By the way, I heard that there is a planet called Boundary Core Star, and there is a huge boundary tree on it, and the boundary tree will bear fruit every few years, and the fruit will be born in the way of the core man. There is no gender distinction, and the average life expectancy is about 75,000 years. The great priest looked at King Yan Luo and asked, Yes, Lord Grand Priest, do you want to go to the core star? King Yan Luo breathed a slight sigh of relief. As long as I am not prosecuted about cheating on cards, I will be relieved. Not true. This is special. I didn't win by cheating. Lord Grand Priest, want to pick a new realm king? King Yan Luo asked. No, I tentatively plan to select a few creator gods from among these realm kings. It is equivalent to a god above these realm kings. The great priest thought thoughtfully and muttered in a low voice, You just said the realm king. Well, then call it the realm king god, and the realm king god is responsible for managing the existing 4 realm kings and you don't have an opinion, right? Quote. King Yan Luo shook his head vigorously. Do I dare to say it if I have an opinion? The little ghosts on the side were stealing pleasure in their hearts. This is really the reincarnation of the heavenly Tao. I know King Yan Luo you have an opinion, but you dare not say it. It's just like I don't dare to blow up a bomb. Yes, the creation god, you can also be called the realm king god, this name is good. The great priest nodded with satisfaction, the words of the creator god feel too direct, and there is nothing to associate. Quote. Thank you, Lord Grand Priest, for the compliment. King Yan Luo quickly thanked him. Am I complimenting you? This name is clearly what I came up with, does it have anything to do with you? The great priest said with a straight face. King Yan Luo. In other words, do you have any good proposals regarding the choice of the realm king god? The grand priest asked. This. King Yan Luo thought about it carefully, and immediately replied, I heard that in addition to growing ordinary fruits, the boundary tree on the boundary core star also has a golden fruit, which is very rare, and once it grows a core person, it will have a lifespan of tens of millions of years. Quote. Well, it's good, you keep playing, provided you don't delay work. The grand priest nodded again. Ah, soon, the great priest disappeared through teleportation. Boundary Core Star. This is a relatively large planet. In the center of this planet, there is a towering tree soaring into the sky. This big tree is the boundary tree. The boundary tree broke through the core of the planet, rushed into the sky, and disappeared into the golden clouds. On top of the boundary tree, a lot of fruit grows. Occasionally, extremely rare golden fruits are born. It is said that these golden fruits are born only every 1 million years. At this time, the great priest had already appeared next to a golden fruit, and he looked at it silently. Sure enough, I have the qualifications to become a realm king god. The great priest was still quite satisfied with this golden fruit. The great priest circled the towering tree a few times and found that only 7 golden fruits were about to grow. The rest of the golden fruits will take thousands or even tens of thousands of years to grow. Even these 7 golden fruits will take a year or 2 to ripen. If you take it off now. No, this will break his foundation and limit their future growth. Grow well, I'll come and pick you up then. The great priest smiled. These 7 golden fruits sway with the wind, and the rhythm is cheerful. It's almost called Grandpa. The great priest explored the entire realm core star again. The grand priest also wanted to see if there was a more suitable candidate. Perhaps there is a better candidate than the golden fruit to be the king god of the realm. This lap is down. Before I knew it, the day was almost over. After all, the great priest is exploring the entire universe and exploring the entire core star. Although the great priest can teleport, it also takes a lot of time. A day later, the Temple of the Kings. Does the creator god choose from the boundary core star? Quan Wang asked innocently. I have this initial plan, and for now they are the best choice to become a creator of God. The great priest replied. By the way, great priest, those pets you have basically already possessed a certain degree of spirituality, so it's not good for them to become creation gods, that is, the realm king gods you say. Quan Wang asked with a wink. Boom, it's okay to let them do destruction, let them become the gods of the realm, before they can create the planet may be destroyed. The great priest smiled and said, although they don't have the ability to destroy the planet yet, I think it's only a matter of time. Quote. Quan Wong nodded. Create. Destruction. The great priest seemed to have suddenly thought of something and muttered something in a low voice. What? Quan Wong asked. Didn't. It's nothing. Just had a little bit of inspiration on a whim. Maybe it's immature. The great priest smiled slightly. Great priest, when will I be able to erase the universe? I can't wait. Quan Wong is eager to try. Grand priest, if it doesn't work, let's do something else first. The great priest wiped his sweat. But what about smearing something? The king looked around. This huge temple is extremely empty. There is not even a thing that can be erased. How about playing something else? Like what? Hide and seek or something? The grand priest proposed. Hide and seek. How to play? How to play? Quan Wong asked with some expectation. To put it simply, Lord Quan Wong counts 10 with his eyes closed. I let my children find a place to hide, and then you go to them, and if you find them all, you win. The great priest smiled slightly and said the rules of this game. It seems to be interesting. Oh, I want to play, I want to play. The whole king was a little impatient. Then, go to my house and play, it is more suitable for playing hide and seek. The great priest said with a smile. Quan Wong nodded vigorously, I'll go first. Quote. Saying that, Quan Wong disappeared directly through teleportation. 2 guards. The 2 guards had big heads for a while. But fortunately, the great priest's mansion was not in any danger. Don't worry about that. As for those pets owned by the children of the great priest, I believe that his children will be optimistic. Even if you can't see those pets well, it won't cause harm to Lord Quan Wong. Anyway, though, let's keep up first. Let's go together. Do you want to play together? The grand priest looked at the 2 guards and asked. We're not going to play. 2 guards wiped their sweat. What's so fun about hide and seek? It's not interesting. The great priest and the 2 guards also returned to their mansion in a flash. The residence of the grand priest. Poles and piers are already out of the rat hole. Practiced for a day. The 2 cats finally came out. During this period, Quitra woke up 3 times, and was slapped unconscious by the Dunzi. Quitra had the heart to die. At this moment, feel the fresh air outside. The face of the pole was written with endless confidence. The effort pays off. The pole has finally comprehended the destruction of the intermediate level. Intermediate. The pole felt that if he passed with a cat's paw now, the rockery in front of him would definitely be smashed by himself. Before, you could only smash a stone. No, it's sabotage. Before, only 1 stone could be destroyed. Now it is possible to destroy a rockery. This is the power of medium-level destruction. Looking at the rockery that appeared in front of him, the pole resisted the urge to step forward and destroy it. It feels like it. Why does it feel as if it is not the opponent of the great priest? Can't manage so much, let's find a guy to fight first. Dunzi's face was also full of endless confidence. I finally got started. I have mastered the destruction. My current strength is almost the same as the previous pole. I think the 2 of us can walk sideways in this yard. Pole, are we going to find the great priest now? Dunzi asked. The pole was silent. Nope, try his son first, Dunzi suggested. I'll see. The pole nods. The more the 2 cats practiced, the more they felt like frogs at the bottom of the well. Especially after cultivating to the intermediate level, he found that he still had a long, long way to go. Although the owner said that mastering the entry-level destruction, it is possible to walk sideways on that ball. But it's not that ball. This is a different place. Which son is better to hit him? I think the 2 of us joining forces will beat his son all over the place. Dunzi grinned, revealing a bad smile. How about that Bardos who hit you? Pole proposed. The pole hesitated. The girl named Bardos is still very good. At least she gave me something to eat. And there is no malice towards me. Change 1. Dunzi shook his head. That Weiss who hit you, right? Quote. Well, Weiss. The pole was also a little hesitant. This Weiss, it seems that he didn't provoke me. Or, go hit that fox. That guy named Corin. Dunzi thought about it and proposed. I'll see. The pole agreed without thinking. This guy named Corin isn't a good thing either. Right, go beat him up. Let him know what it means to have a sky outside the sky and a cat outside the cat. Two cats wander around the yard, looking for the yard where Corin is. Spinning around, the two cats got lost again. It's too big here, and each yard is not very different. One can easily get lost if you're not careful. After turning around a few yards, the two cats came to a relatively unfamiliar-looking yard. Haven't walked this yard, have you? Mound looked around. The terrain here is too complicated, like a maze, too difficult to find. The pole shook his head. Look, what's that? The pier suddenly pointed into the distance. The pole also looked in the direction pointed by the pier. Two cats saw a dog. A sleeping dog. The hair on this dog's body is snow white, and it looks very good. Pole, do you think that dog looks like the vicious dog chasing you? That is, the one that was kicked and flown by the owner. Dunsey is happy. It looks a little similar, but it's certainly not that dog. Pole rode. Do you want a kick in his ass? Mound suggested, although I would love to find that Corin and beat him up. The problem is, we can't find his yard. Quote. The pole nodded approvingly. If you continue to look for it, I don't know when I will find that Corin. Let's bully the dog first. Cats hate dogs the most. Especially this dog is very much like the vicious dog on that ball. Could it be that these two dogs are related? So be it. The pole whispered a few words in the ear of the pier. Dunsey nodded vigorously, thinking that the idea of the pole was too good. Just do it. Two kittens whispering here. The sleeping dog suddenly pricked up its ears and immediately looked in the direction of the two cats. However, all the dog sees are the plants in the flower beds in the distance. Poles and piers have long been found to hide them. I found you. You'd better give it to me. My ears are very sensitive. The dog spoke. This goods can talk. Dunsey was stunned. Well, their animals seem to be able to talk, except for the mouse. Okay, let's go according to plan. Mound nodded. Meow. The pole quickly climbed up a large tree in the center of the flower bed. Cat. The dog frowned. I've heard of you. You're the Beerus that Lord Great Priest just brought back from outside, right? Quote. The pole nods. How? Can't speak yet. The dog asked. Only. Yes. A little bit. The pole spat out words. I heard that you were severely beaten by Ligier. The dog smiled and said, you don't honestly stay in your own yard and run to my territory, do you still want to find abuse? Quote. Meow. Pole teeth. Speak human language. Can talk without talking. Say some cat barking that I don't understand. I don't want to clean up your paws itching. The dog snorted. There are skills. You come up. The pole stood on the branch of the big tree, looking at each other condescendingly. HMPH, childish. The dog sneered and was about to jump. Wait a minute, the pole hurriedly said. The dog stopped for a moment. Are you trying to admit it? Yes, as long as you kneel down and kowtow to me, I will spare you today. The dog grinned, revealing a mouthful of sharp fangs. At this moment, the pier had quietly appeared behind the dog. The pier slapped a paw towards the dog's butt. Destruction. This claw condensed the most entry-level destructive energy. Bang. The dog was caught off guard and hit on the spot, and its body rolled several times on the ground, and fell to the ground. The dog never expected that there was a cat hiding behind him. Faw. The dog screamed in pain, and its tail was clamped behind its butt. Meow meow. The pier is happy in the back. Phew. The pole fell from the sky and sat on the dog's body with an ass. Poof. The dog sprayed blood from its mouth and felt that the whole dog was not good. The next moment, the pole was aimed at the dog's face and a set of cat punches was directly cast. The dogs were stunned. Why is this cat so strong? It is said that my strength is not much different from Ligil. Even if I was attacked by that fat cat elephant paw, I couldn't be beaten by him. Ligier this pit goods. Didn't he say that he could easily abuse this Beerus? The dog was beaten and barked. I'll ask you if you're convinced. The pole shouted. Served. I served. The dog quickly confessed. Oh, is that a no-brainer? The pole was a little bit of a surprise. Admit it. I admit it. The dog nodded vigorously. Hurry up and admit it. If you don't admit it, I'm going to be beaten badly. Connick's yard. The little mouse Cutra walked out of the rat hole with a gray face. These two cats. I'm not done with you. You guys wait for me. I will definitely call back. Quetra suddenly felt that she was smelling on herself. How did you do it? Isn't it just a fight? Did he beat my out? Quetra sniffed her body. It stinks. The next moment, Quetra looked down and found something tawny on her body. This is special. It's not my. It seems to be that cat's. Quetra grinded her teeth in anger. Quetra staggered to the window of Konik's room. Did they beat you up? Konik's voice came from inside the window. Quetra hung her head at that point. Snap. Konik opened the window and held out his scepter. A flame of light quickly covered Quetra's body. Suddenly, Quetra's injuries also recovered immediately. Even Quetra's yellow hair, which had already fallen off, had completely grown back at this moment. As for the unclean things on Quetra's body, they also completely disappeared under the light of this flame of light. Quetra has a new look. Quetra immediately shook her spirits, feeling that her body was filled with endless power. As far as I know, the strength of Beerus and Champa has improved a lot, and I am afraid it will be difficult for you to be their opponent on your own. Konik's voice came out again. Quetra suddenly looked like a deflated leather ball, and the spirit that had just been shaken immediately dissipated. I still thought I was going to take revenge. As a result, you say that their strength has improved a lot. So how else to fight? So, you need a partner who can fight alongside you, go find it. Konik's voice sounded again. Quetra was stunned. Partner, who am I going to? I have secretly bullied foxes, elephants, tigers. They all hate me now. Where do I find a partner? By the way, and that dog. Isn't there a dog over there? But the dog was a bit prodded. The last time the dog fought with the fox, the dog had already occupied a certain advantage but was killed by the fox. This is simply a pig teammate. No, dog mates. If I team up with him and fight him halfway, I will confess halfway. What should I do? Squeak, squeak. Quetra didn't know who to look for. Go figure it out yourself. Konik smiled and said, there have never been eternal enemies or eternal friends in this world. Quote. Squeak. Quetra held the mouse's head and silently thought about the meaning of Konik's words. Even if it is a brother, there may be a conflict because of something. Konik added. Squeak. Quetra understood. Konik asked me to use a dissociation meter. Only, how am I going to divide them? This seems difficult. And I can't speak yet. Everything is figured out. Come on, little mouse, my Quetra. After Konik finished speaking, he directly closed the window. Quetra, well, the real God always does things so deeply. I'll figure it out myself. If I rely on him for everything, then I don't have much room to grow, right? I have to say that the little mouse of Quetra is still very active. In time, Quetra will also become the second strongest god of destruction after Beerus. Of course, now he is just a little mouse. A little yellow-haired mouse living in the courtyard of the angel Konik. During this period, if he converted his strength into combat effectiveness, the newborn Brawly can definitely slap him to death. Quetra thought about it carefully, looked up and squeaked at the window a few times. Are you going to find them? They are now in Doug's yard. Konik's voice came out. Squeak. Quetra nodded and raced towards Doug's yard. The yard where Doug's is located. To be precise, this is the courtyard of the angel Sava. Because the dog had already confessed, the Pole and Pier were embarrassed to bully him anymore. The two cats huddled together and muttered a few words. Since this product is admitted, it's better to ask for some useful information from him. Otherwise, if your eyes are dark, the odds of winning against the great priest are not great. Your name is, what the name? The Pole asked. Doug's. The dog replied. It's hard to imagine that two cats and a dog are sitting in the yard now, and they are very harmonious with each other. If it weren't for the dog's blue and purple face. People who don't know think they're friends. Why are you so good when you just arrived? Have you practiced before? Doug asked curiously. Simple cultivation. The Pole replied. The Pole suddenly found that after comprehending the destruction of the intermediate level, he seemed to speak fluently than before. Meow. The Pier muffled on the side. I can't speak yet. I can't interject. Dunsey was a little unhappy in his heart, and stepped forward and patted the dog's head. Dugs did not dare to make a dent and wagged his tail at the mound. Dunsey. Dunsey is a little embarrassed to bully this dog again. You're special. I pat you on the head. You wag your tail. Can't play, can't play. Did you have a master before? Doug's asked again. There is. How is it possible? The pole wanted to answer yes, but immediately changed his rhetoric. The host is still sleeping. At this time, what should I do if the villain of the great priest came to trouble him? No, I can't admit it. No, master is still so powerful, your talent is really amazing. Doug sighed. Actually, I don't like to fight. I'm different from Ligier and Tiger and Rumsey, my biggest hobby is sunbathing. Quote. Pull. Dunsey. You also say you don't like to fight. You saw us before and tried to bully us. You're just scolding now. It's the same as the real thing. Tiger. Who is it? The Pull hasn't heard of this guy. The Pull guessed what kind of animal this product must also be. He is a tiger, the pet of the angel 10th. Doug's explained. Angels. And what? The Pull asked again. Don't you know yet? Doug's eyes widened. Angel. They are all children of the great priest, and they are the true gods. Quote. The true God. The Pull pondered, and then asked, what about us? Are we God? Quote. Poof. Doug's laughed directly. Meow. Mound was furious, and a paw was pumped in Doug's dog's face. Do you still dare to laugh? Your guts are really not small. Dare to laugh at my brother. Faw. Doug's was smacked again, holding his tail and yelling. Pull. Why is this product so intimidating? Tell me, why laugh? The Pull beckoned to Doug's. Nothing. Doug wiped his sweat. I say we are gods, so you laugh. The Pull said with a cold face, you mean to say that we are not gods at all? Quote. How can we be God? Doug shook his head. Let me ask you first, what is God? Quote. The two cats shook their heads. The old turtle seems to have spoken of God once. God is said to be powerful. I didn't explain it in too much detail. Therefore, the two cats also know little about this. I just know that God is powerful. The rest is not very clear. God is the Lord of all things, Doug's replied. What are you guys doing? You don't even know what God is. You are also too ignorant. I'm such a day-to-day dog. Bah, I'm a dog. I was speechless. I was actually bullied by these two goods. Doug's heart moved. These two goods are so fearless, I am afraid that they are the type of newborn calves that are not afraid of tigers. The less you know, the more you don't know anything, the more you are not afraid of anything. A cat that doesn't even know about God has a fart fear. Next, Ben Dog will let you know the horror of this world, let you know how small you are in this world. You are ants in God's eyes. The master of all things. The Pull silently pondered the meaning of this sentence. Let me put it this way, God created man and the entire universe, and all things. Doug's explained, it's like us, to put it bluntly, our ancestors were created by God, can you understand this? Quote. You mean to say that our ancestors were all created by the great priest? The Pull asked. Lord Great Priest has such a high status, so he won't create our ancestors. Doug shook his head. What do you mean? The Pull felt puzzled. Lord Great Priest is the great steward of all gods. Our ancestors may have been created by other gods, but this god is to be under the management of Lord Great Priest. Doug's explained, can you understand when I say that? Quote. The Pull stopped talking, and my heart was shocked. I rely on him for a meow. Is the identity of the great priest such a bull? God is not only the sovereign of all things, but also has eternal life. Doug's continued, don't say Lord Archer, but the child of Lord Archangel, like my master Savoy, and your masters Vase and Bardos, they are also gods and have endless life. Quote. Immortality. The Pull trembled in his heart again, surprised. That's right, it's immortality. Doug nodded. Not only that, their strength is also very strong. No one is their opponent, no matter how strong you are, let alone the great priest. It is Bardos and Weiss, they are not enough to fight with a finger. Quote. So strong. The Pull wipes the sweat. Meow. Dunsey was a little unconvinced. Is it really that strong? The Peers and Pulls were silent. Doug stole pleasure in his heart. How terrible ignorance is. Are you scared now? HMPH, these two idiots. You ever thought about leaving this place? The Pull asked suddenly. Leave. Doug's looked at the Pull like a fool. Hey, what are you looking at? The Pull said with a cold face. Why leave? Doug's was a little puzzled and asked rhetorically. Here, do we have freedom? The Pull asked. Freedom. Did Vase or Bardos restrict you from going out? Doug's asked rhetorically. Pull. Dunsey. It seems that there are really no restrictions. But, it's so big, it's all courtyards, is it interesting? The pole shook his head and said, I prefer the ball we used to live in, with mountains and waters, glaciers and grasslands, birds and animals, and the latter words are not said. And our home. Yes, no matter how good it is, it's not our home after all. I don't know what to say about you. Do you know how many little animals want to come to this place? Doug sighed. This is the god realm, and you are likely to become a true god here. I, Ligier, Rumsey, Tiger, and even the little mouse, didn't we stay so that we could become gods? Quote. The pole stopped talking again. Dunsey would not have spoken, and remained silent on the sidelines. We are all animals born of spiritual intelligence, and I think one day we will become true gods. Doug said as he spoke. His expression was also full of endless expectations. It was as if at this moment, Doug had become a god. Hey, little mouse, I found you. You don't have to be sneaky there, I have long heard your footsteps walking. Doug suddenly turned his head and looked diagonally back. Meow. The peer also immediately looked towards Quitra on the side. Isn't this the little mouse? I'll go. The cargo recovered from his injuries completely. Must have been healed by an angel, right? Dunsey is trying to take revenge. You injured me before, and I haven't repaired you properly. Now that I've comprehended entry-level destruction, see if I don't knock you out of. Although the destruction of the peer is only an entry level, his extreme skill has made great progress. In fact, in terms of overall strength, the difference between the peer and the pole is not particularly large. Especially in the cultivation of extreme intentional gong. Therefore, although the destruction of the peer is only the beginning, in the overall cultivation of the extreme intention gong, it is already on par with the pole. Phew. The peer turned into a stream of light and rushed quickly towards the direction where Quitra was. Quitra hurriedly made a pause gesture with both front paws. The peer braked sharply halfway through. Meow meow. Mound glared angrily at Quitra. Want to play tricks with me? It's useless. Now I can clean you up. The pole will beat you more easily. Squeak, squeak, squeak. Quitra showed a look of grievance and squeaked. Meow. Mound shouted there. A cat and a mouse confront each other in completely different languages. He said that before it was his mistake, and now he confesses to you. Doug's quickly translated a sentence on the side. Oh, can you understand him? The pole was stunned and asked. I knew him for a long time, so I could understand what he said. Doug's explained. He said he had a name, his name was Quitra, and he was a little unhappy when he saw you running to his house, so he fought with you. Now that I know that you are the pets of Bardos and Weiss, I want to settle my grudge with you. Quote. Who raised him? The pole asked. He has no master, sighed Doug's. Quitra hung her head aggrievedly. Yes, I don't have a master yet. Quitra seemed to have been told something to her heart. That. Who came up with the name? The pole asked. Conic, the name given to him by the angel of his yard. Doug's replied. He is a little mouse living in Konic's yard, and he was discovered by Konic one day, and Konic taught him to cultivate when he was fine, so he has this achievement now. However, Konic has never intended to adopt him, and being able to give him a name today is already a great improvement. Quote. Quitra nodded vigorously. Oh, yes, I also want to be a true god. As long as I beat these two cats, Konic will take me. I'll have to keep figuring it out. Mix in their team first and see the situation attack. Squeak, squeak, Quitra called again. He said that he was very sorry for the previous incident and apologized to you here. Doug Dow. HMPH, if you know it's wrong, you can correct it and it's a good mouse. The pole nodded in satisfaction. So, can we live in peace later? I'm really tired of the days of fighting and killing. Doug sighed. We didn't fight much when Ligier and Rumsey and Tiger first arrived. Quote. Hey, how can I become a god? Instead of answering the question, the pole asked. First of all, you have to be enlightened, that is, to have spiritual intelligence, which we all already have. The second is to speak words. Simply put, to speak, you already have this, but you still need to speak more fluently, like Pa and Quitra need to work hard, learn to speak early, then there is the transformation into a human form. Doug explained in detail. In the end, you can become a god. As for what kind of god you become, it depends on how you cultivate. Of course, you must also see what gods are lacking in this universe and this world. Quote. Avatar, transform into a human form. The pole is far-sighted. Do you want to become a human? Yes, it is said that only those who are in the range of 1.5 to 2.5 meters in height are eligible to become gods. Doug said, it's still hard for us, especially when the three of you are so young. I don't know how much height I will reach after the transformation. Quote. Pull. Dunsey. Queetra knew all about these things, so there was nothing to be surprised about. So complicated. The pole shook his head. Yes, becoming a god is not something that can be accomplished overnight. You need to cultivate well and temper your own mind. Doug smiled and said, also, we are fighting between us, do you see an angel blocking it? Quote. The pole shook his head again. It is true that the angels did not stop us from fighting. As if the battle against us is also turning a blind eye. My master once said that the fight between us animals, or the intrigue between us, no matter how we fight, they will not care, even if they kill each other. Doug smiled and said, because these are all a growth experience for us, only through these growths will we mature as soon as possible and transform as soon as possible. Quote. The pole nodded thoughtfully. It seems to make a lot of sense. It's just that, beat the other party to death, is it really okay? The pole looked at Doug's. Shall I beat him to death? And this little mouse, shall we shoot him to death? Why is it okay to kill you? Are they so ferocious? The pole asked curiously. Meow. Dunsey was equally curious. Did they take the lives of us little animals for the wrong thing? It's just like a mustard. Because, even if we are killed, with the power of angels, they can raise us again. Doug's explained. Dunsey was stunned. The pole also widened its eyes, revealing a look of disbelief. And this kind of thing. Can I be resurrected when I die? Now you know why we stayed. Doug smiled and said, angels, that is the greatest god in this universe and this world, and with them, we will one day become gods. Quote. Is it really okay to be killed? The pole asked again. Do you see the stick in the angel's hand? That's the angel's scepter. There are so many things that can be done. Doug moved in his heart, smiled, and said the angel's scepter. Hearing Doug's words, the pole and Pierre were really a little moved for a while. The scepter of angels. Is that the stick? That thing can do a lot. But immediately afterwards, Doug immediately denied his idea in his heart. No, can Sava still not know what I'm thinking? No matter how we animals fight, it is a matter between us. Angels must not be involved. If Beerus, a fool, really steals Weiss's scepter, when the time comes to find out what happened, the unlucky dog is me. But only angels can use it, we can't use it. Doug's knew what the two of them thought. Don't do stupid things, think that if you steal the angel's scepter, you can do many things, it's absolutely impossible. Quote. Pull. Dunsey. Is it really not okay? I didn't lie to you. Doug Dow. No, I'm not interested in the scepter. I just wanted to ask one more question. The pole said. While saying this, the pole looked at the pier, and the corners of his mouth slightly hooked an arc. Dunsey also grinned. Two cats have been together for so long, just a simple look can tell what the other wants to do. Ask what? Doug's was stunned. I just want to ask, is it really okay to beat your opponent to death? Can it really be resurrected? The pole asked again. Look, UFO. Doug suddenly pointed behind the pole with his hand. The pole was slightly startled. What is a flying saucer? The pole almost subconsciously glanced behind him. Bang. The next moment, Doug and Queetra shot at the same time. Doug shot a fireball at the butt of the pole. Queetra also instantly enlarged her body and hit her head directly on Dunsey's body. Faw. The pole felt that his ass was on fire, and hurriedly slapped the flames above with his cat's claw. The pier flew out directly upside down and smashed into the flower bed behind him. The flowers and trees of the flower bed collapsed. The pier screamed in pain. The two cats never thought that these two goods actually played sneak attacks. We were about to sneak up on you. It turns out that you are more cunning than us. After Doug and Queetra succeed in their sneak attack, Queetra is eager for revenge and wants to attack the pole again. However, when Queetra turned her head, she found that Doug's had slipped away. Queetra had 10,000 grass mud horses passing by. You hurry up and shoot the water dog. Ah, the drowning dog refers to you. You hurry up and keep doing it while they're weak. You run a yarn. Queetra felt that the whole rat was not good. Moreover, Doug's ran fast, and after a while, he left this side of the yard and ran to another yard. Quitra was tired. Quitra clearly knew that he could not kill these two cats on his own. I'll get out of the way as soon as possible. Quitra also ran with her legs. Soon, Doug and Quitra fled the scene so quickly. Meow. Dunsey was furious. Chase, the pole said in cat language. As for this injury on the body, it is nothing at all. In fact, the injury is not very serious. It's just that the insulting component is too high. We were going to sneak up on you, but you attacked both of us. The two cats quickly chased in the direction of the escape of the dog and mouse. The two cats communicate while tracking. HMPH, as soon as that mouse appeared, I knew that something might be fine. He said those words, Doug deliberately mistranslated for us. Quote, I can't spare them. The pole is also angry. Doug sped ahead and fled. Quitra quickly caught up with Doug's. What are you following me for? Run separately. Doug's glanced at Quitra. Squeak, squeak. Quitra spoke her mind. You are also right to say so. It is true that we are separated, and if we are caught by them, we will not be their opponents at all. Doug's nodded. If the two of us join forces, it is really possible to defeat them. Quote, squeak. Quitra rode. Oh, yes, we can really beat them. So why are we running? Isn't it them who should run? Don't be naive, little mouse. Doug shook his head. Do you really think I'm scolding? If I could beat them, would I still run? Tell you well, especially that Beerus, it feels like his strength is close to incarnation. Quote, squeak. The little mouse widened his eyes and revealed a look of disbelief. Don't talk about their two cats, even if there is only one cat in Beerus, with our current strength, it is a little difficult to deal with him. Doug sighed. Quitra's face changed again and again. How could that Beerus improve his strength so quickly? You're not fooling me, are you? In short, you are a sluggish. Forget it, run quickly. If you don't run again, you will be caught up and beaten again. Dogs and rats flee at a rapid pace. Running and running, the dog and mouse suddenly noticed a person in front of them. Hey, that's... Doug was startled when he saw the man's appearance again. Squeak. Quitra was even more stunned. Quitra, who grew up in the courtyard of Konig's house, naturally also saw the king. Quitra knew very well that this king was the god at the top of the world. It is said that with a wave of his hand, Lord Quanwang can easily erase a planet or the entire universe. It's terrible. If he can erase you with a wave of his hand. You can no longer recover. I heard that even if it is an angel, there is no way to restore the people erased by the king. If you are killed, the angels may even bring you back to life. But if you are erased, it will really disappear, and you will not even be eligible to reincarnate. Faw. The dog and mouse hurriedly braked and stopped immediately when they were about to approach the king. Dogs and mice bow down and salute. Yes, appearing directly in front of them was none other than the king. Come here and want to play hide and seek for all kings. The king had just arrived at the great priest's mansion through teleportation, and was walking around the courtyard not long ago. The next moment, Quan Wong saw these two small animals. What a cute puppy. The king beckoned to Doug's. Doug's immediately stepped forward, his tail wagging happily. Quan Wong stepped forward and touched Doug's head. Doug let the king stroke his head, revealing an expression of enjoyment. If I can become the pet dog of Lord Quanwang. Bah! I'm a dog. How can I have this idea? I will always be Sava's pet dog. I only have such a host. Doug thought a little too much for a while. Is this a rat? The king turned to look at Quitra. Squeak. Quitra nodded her mouse head vigorously. It's so ugly, said Quan Wong. Quitra covered her face and wept. Am I that ugly? Woohoo! I don't even want to live. Qutra's psychological shadow area is gradually expanding. Doug's didn't speak either. In the presence of this god who stands at the apex of the universe, it is very impolite to speak. Lord Quan Wong didn't let you speak, you'd better shut up. This is the rule, even if you use the most primitive call. Or you are cute, the whole body is snow white. The king was very happy. Woof. Doug wagged his tail vigorously. I haven't ridden a horse for a long time, and when I play hide and seek later, you will be my mount. Quan Wong proposed. Woof. Doug's was stunned. Hide and seek. Mounts. What do you mean? As for you, go aside, look so ugly, don't come out and wander. The king waved at Quitra. Fortunately, Quan Wang is in a good mood today, and he is looking forward to playing hide and seek. Otherwise, if he saw such an ugly guy in normal times, he would have been wiped off with a wave of his hand. Quitra knelt down to salute, and then quickly left the scene, in a very bad mood. Distance. Poles and piers are speeding towards this side. Chasing after them, the two cats saw Quan Wang appear in the distance. And Dugs, who behaved like a good baby next to the king. And the little mouse Quitra that slips back down the corner. Even, after seeing the pole and pier, Quitra just glanced at them listlessly, and did not even have the slightest fighting spirit. Pull, Dunsey. How many meanings do these two goods mean? Is this pulling a foreign aid? What kind of animal is this guy? Why does it look so strange? Pull, who is that goods? Have you seen it? Dunsey asked. I haven't seen it. Could it be that the great priest brought it back from outside? Pull guessing. How do I feel that Dugs is a little prodded, he really looks like a dog in front of him. Dunsey rode. Who do you think he doesn't bother when he sees it? He was quite intimidated just now. The Pull is thoughtful. Let's go up and take a look. Dunsey proposed. This dog is so intimidating, don't be in a hurry to meet him in general, first beat the little mouse fiercely. The Pull grinned. Well, that's such a pleasant decision. Mound nodded vigorously. The two cats quietly followed behind Quitra. Dugs also soon found the Pull and pier, and was stealing pleasure in his heart. With the knowledge of these two goods, he should not know Lord Quan Wang. You two shouldn't think that Lord Quan Wang is my helper, right? Hurry up and attack me. Hurry up and attack Lord Quan Wang. You will be wiped clean by the Lord of the King. I'm looking forward to it. Just as Dugs was thinking this, he found that the two cats had turned around and went after Quitra. Dugs, don't chase Quitra, come and get me. Dugs was tempted to bark to attract the attention of the two cats. But Dugs didn't have the guts to shout after all. Because Dugs is clear, if he plays any conspiracy and tricks, let Lord Quan Wang know, it will really be erased. If Beerus and Elephant Paw ran over to provoke Lord Quan Wang themselves, it would have nothing to do with themselves. But you can't help the sidelines. After leaving this courtyard, Quitra walked listlessly along the wall to her own courtyard. Lord Quan Wang actually said that I was ugly. Am I really that ugly? Woohoo, I'm still dead, despised by a god standing at the apex of the universe. I felt like my rat's life was going to end. Quitra was completely out of spirit. Quitra also seemed to know that the two cats were following her. Kill me. As she walked, Quitra suddenly turned around and looked directly at the Pull and pier. Squeak, creak, Quitra barked a few times at the two cats. Snap. The Pull did not mean to be polite with Quitra at all, and a cat's paw slapped down, directly shooting Quitra's body into the ground, leaving only a head. Meow. The pier jumped even more gorgeously, flew to a height, and smashed down from the air. Bang. Mound sat directly on Quitra's head with his own ass. Faw. Quitra let out a scream, feeling that the rat was not good. Squeak. Quitra was followed by listless shouts. That means as if to say, you're killing me. If you have the ability, you will kill me. Bang bang. There is nothing polite about piers and pulls, and it is a violent beating to the little mouse. Quitra, you really want to beat me to death. Hey, why is this guy not fighting spirit? The pier is a bit puzzling. I don't know, the Pull also saw it. Hit so hard, he didn't resist at all. It's not like a little mouse. The Pull pulled the little mouse's body with its paws. Immediately afterwards, the Pull pressed the body of the little mouse and rubbed on the ground. Let me come, let me come, let me play for a while. The pier feels quite interesting. The next moment, the pier stepped forward and pressed the body of the little mouse like this, rubbing the ground. As if the pier was still not enjoyable enough, he put the little mouse on the stone floor of the flower bed and rubbed. Quitra just let the two cats toss around, without the slightest intention of fighting back. Hey, Pull, it's all like this product still doesn't resist. Dunsey was a little speechless. Maybe it's more comfortable. Pull guessing. Hey, what are you guys playing? Just as the two cats were playing happily, they heard an innocent voice ringing nearby. The pier and Pull turned their heads and couldn't help but be stunned. Isn't this the same person just now? A strange-looking person. Short in stature, a bit like a porcelain doll. Also, what surprised the two cats was This porcelain doll actually rode on Doug's body. Doug's allowed this porcelain doll to ride himself like this, but he had no intention of resisting. The two cats looked at each other. Wouldn't be a trap. But it doesn't feel like it. Hey, ask you. Quan Wong was a little impatient. Well, I heard that friction can start electricity, and we're experimenting. The pole replied. As for the matter of friction and electricity, it was also what the old turtle had told the pole before. The pole took advantage of this opportunity to use the word. It seems interesting, can it really be rubbed out of electricity? The king suddenly came to the spirit and jumped down from Doug's. Snap. The whole king was unstable and fell to the ground. Pull. Dunsey. Doug's was so frightened that his soul flew. Lord Quanwong, if you want to come down, you will tell me in advance. You said that I squat down, and it is easier for you to get down. You just jump down, and you end up falling like this. Quan Wong. What a shame. Quan Wong got up and patted the dust on his body. Let me play. The king stepped forward. The pole hurriedly got out of the way. The pole always feels that the origin of this goods may not be simple. Before figuring out the identity of the other party, let's keep a low profile. I don't know if my mid-level destruction can slap him to death with one claw. The pole is now thinking about this. But after thinking about it, I always feel that it is a bit too hasty to start now. Moreover, the pole keenly noticed that Doug and Kutra saw that there was something wrong with the expression of this porcelain doll. It seems to be afraid of his appearance. The king stepped forward and rubbed Kutra's body back and forth. Kutra, I'm such a day-to-day dog. The king actually used my body to generate electricity. Who said friction was electrified? Nope. Quan Wong feels a little bored. Maybe the friction isn't strong enough. Pole Road. You seem to have a point in saying that. I'll speed it up a little more and try. The king nodded, and just like that, he pressed Kutra's body to speed up the friction with the stone. Kutra felt like her body was going to be ground into jerky. If I don't discharge it again, Lord Quan Wong won't erase me, right? Wow. Fa. Kutra gritted her teeth and released an arc of electricity from her body. Sure enough, the electricity went on. Quan Wang's eyes widened, feeling too funny. It's fun, the pole said with a smile. Well, you're interesting. You're the Beerus that the Grand Priest just brought back, right? The king looked at the pole and said. Yes, the pole nodded. Play hide and seek with me later. The king proposed that while saying this, he stop rubbing Kutra for the time being. Hide and seek. The pole was slightly startled. It's that you hide, I count 10, and then I go to you, and when I find you, I win. Quan Wong said the rules of the game. Meow. Mound meowed at the pole. Meow, replied the pole. What did you say? Quan Wong asked. Well, nothing, my brother said, he thought the game was fun, he was looking forward to it. The pole immediately replied. Well, we'll play together later. After saying this, the king continued to rub against Kutra's body. Wow, Fa, Kutra cried and had to discharge it again. Hey, pole, what do you say? I said, is it bad for us to take the opportunity to get out of here? What is the point of playing hide and seek, such a childish game? Dunsey continued. This porcelain doll is not simple, it is definitely not as simple as it seems. The pole said in a deep voice. What do you say? Quan Wong asked. We're discussing, where is the right place to hide later? The pole smiled and said, sorry, my brother can't speak yet. Quote. As he spoke, the great priest and the two guards also returned through teleportation. The grand priest and the two guards easily found the king. Hey, pole, it's the great priest. Dunsey said quickly. See, the pole nods. Do you want to give him a bit of destruction now? Dunsey proposed. Don't worry, wait a minute. The pole muttered. After the great priest appeared, he did not look at the peer and pole at all, but looked at the whole king with a smile. Great priest, you see, this little mouse can rub electricity. Quan Wong smiled and beckoned the great priest, and rubbed the little mouse a few times in front of the great priest. Kutra had the heart to die, so she had to discharge it again. Arcs of electricity filled the hands of the king. But the king was like a nobody. It's interesting. The great priest smiled. Two guards wiped their sweat on the side. What a poor little mouse. However, this little mouse is also too ugly. Great priest, you came just in time, we will start playing hide and seek now. Quan Wong proposed. Okay, I'll call them all. The great priest said, and the scepter in his hand had already emerged. Your children are studying now, or don't bother them. Quan Wong thought about it and immediately replied, otherwise, let these pets of them play hide and seek with me. Quote. That's fine. The grand priest nodded and immediately spoke to the crystal ball on the scepter. Tiger, Ligier, Rumsey, you three come to Mojito's courtyard at once. Quote. It was less than 10 seconds before the voice fell. Hurrah! Tiger, Ligier, and Rumsey also immediately rushed towards this side. Soon, 3 animals appeared on the scene. The pole and pier were also the first time they saw the tiger. This tiger was called Tiger. This tiger is snow white, and if you don't look closely, you think it's the dog next to it. White tiger. White tiger. Tiger is burly and has the momentum of a king. However, in terms of body size, there is a gap compared to Rumsey. The 3 animals knelt down immediately after arriving at the scene. Meet the Lord of the King, meet the Lord Great Priest. The 3 animals of Tiger bowed and bowed. The pole was stunned. Dunzi was also stunned. Lord Quan Wong. And who is it? Why put him in front? Could it be that this porcelain doll is the king? Could it be that his divine position was still above the great priest? Didn't Dugs say, the great priest is the great steward of all gods? How come the status is not as high as the whole king? The 2 cats were a little shocked for a while. Is it any wonder that Doug and Kutra have such an expression after seeing the king? Ligier and Rumsey also noticed the poles and piers immediately after they came over. Liggle frowned. How could these 2 cats be here? Also, what did the great priest ask us to come here for? Is it to give us a gift of enlightenment? Obviously, Ligier was thinking a little too much. I called you here in the hope that you would accompany Lord Quan Wong to play a game of hide and seek. The grand priest smiled and said, Tiger, Dugs, Elephant Paw, Beerus, Ligil, Little Mouse, and Rumsey, you 7 will find a place to hide in a while, and you can't enter the house. The king counted 10 and began to look for you. Well, the rules of the game are that simple, and the game ends after Lord Quan Wong finds you. I hope you have some fun. Quote. Lord Grand Priest, when Lord Quan Wong is looking for us, can we move? Ligier asked, that is, can we change the hiding place? Quote. The great priest immediately looked at Quan Wong. What do you think, Grand Priest? Quan Wong asked. It seems that the rules of the game have to be formulated in detail. The great priest muttered, so be it, if you hide it and move, Lord Quan Wong will find you and touch your body with his hand, and you will be eliminated. Quote. Well, that's interesting. Quan Wong nodded in satisfaction, and then said, but I have to ask for a mount, and Dugs will be my mount, let them hide the 6. Quote. Okay, of course it's fine. The great priest nodded and glanced at Dugs. Dugs, you won't object, right? Quote. It's an honor. Of course, Dugs did not dare to object. And it is also an honor to be the mount of Lord Quan Wong. So, I'll start counting now. Quan Wong said and closed his eyes directly, a little impatient. Immediately afterwards, the whole king began to count. What are you still stunned for? Don't hurry up and hide it yet. The great priest found that these little animals were still in a daze. Hearing the words of the great priest, the 4 animals of Ligil, Rumsey, Tiger, and Queetri each rushed in different directions. The saddest of these is Rumsey. My body is so big, where do I hide? The most excited nature is Queetra. Queetra has the smallest body and is easy to hide. However, the dog, Doug's nose is so smart, it shouldn't be difficult to find us, right? Queetra also didn't care about the injuries on his body, and he was running fast. Only the poles and piers did not move. You're not hiding yet. The grand priest glanced at the pier and pole. I'm going home. The pole gritted his teeth and said to the great god. At this point, I can only have a showdown with him. If you don't let me go home, I'll fight with you. Hide and seek. I don't play such childish games. Oh, the great priest was slightly stunned. 8, 9 inches. The king was still there counting to himself. Let's talk somewhere else. The grand priest snapped his fingers at the pier and pole. Ah! In just a flash, the great priest took the pier and pole and disappeared in place through teleportation. 10. The king counted to 10 at this time. Quan Wong opened his eyes, looked around, and saw the guards behind him. You 2 don't have to follow, give you a holiday today, go play. The king greeted the 2 guards. Yes, Lord Quanwang. The two guards immediately bowed and saluted. Dugs. The king rode on Dugs. Dug was in high spirits, waiting for the king's instructions. Go. Quanwang waved his hand. Dugs rushed forward. Soon, Dugs found the elephant Rumsey in the yard not far ahead. Rumsey's figure is too burly, and it is difficult to hide. After all, the rules of this game are not to enter the house. Only inside the yard. For Rumsey, the difficulty was simply too great. It's hard to find a place to hide. Quan Wang's face turned dark. I didn't find it. This is what this dog found. Woof. Dugs carried the king and rushed happily in the direction of Rumsey. Rumsey turned and ran. In fact, with Rumsey's strength and speed, Dugs simply can't catch up with him. But playing this kind of game, if you really let Lord Quanwang can't catch up. Lord Quanwang wiped you off in anger, and it hurts. Therefore, Rumsey is still very skillful. Rumsey quickened his march, but one accidentally fell headlong to the ground. Dugs rushed forward with the king. The king's hand slapped on Rumsey's body. I've got you. The king shouted excitedly. Rumsey laughed. I just let you catch it on purpose. Okay, let's go find the next one. Quanwang was very happy. Although Rumsey was found by Dugs. But the process of arrest is still very interesting. Especially when Rumsey fell, that funny look made the whole king feel so happy. Dugs took the king to find the next target. And in another courtyard. The grand priest appeared here with piers and poles. You just said you're going home. Are you sure? The great priest put his hands behind his back and looked at the pole with a smile. Okay. The pole nods. Meow. The pier also immediately meowed and stood with the pole. I believe that after this day, you also have a certain understanding of this place. The great priest smiled. Follow the angels, that is, my children Bardos and Weiss, with the qualifications of the two of you, I believe that one day you will become a true god. If you return to your own planet, even if you continue to cultivate in the current way, I am afraid that it will be very difficult to have a lifespan of only 100 years at most. Quote. There was no sound on the mound. The pole did not answer either. Both cats were silently thinking about the meaning of the great priest's words. It didn't seem to lie to us. It is estimated that you can only live for about 100 years. But that's enough. That's 100 years. How many years does an average cat live? I ask you again, are you going back? The great priest smiled. Of course, I won't force you. If you really want to go back, I can send you back. Quote. We're sure. We're going home. The pole replied affirmatively. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.